What's poppin' YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, if you're old here, my name is Nathan Nazareth and I'm a 21-year-old e-commerce entrepreneur based out of Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And in the past year, I've embarked on the journey to start my own personal brand and YouTube channel to help as many people get started who were in my shoes just 3 short years ago. Now, I don't sell a course. This is what you're gonna get right here for free on YouTube. A full guide and all you'd ever need to learn the business model and start generating money online right now. And that being said, there are certain things like intuition, experience, networking, private resources, private connections, and things that simply cannot be given through an online video course format. So for those things, I also do have an education company where I work one-on-one directly with students to help them through any problems along their journey. If you are at all interested in that, the first link will be down below to go ahead and book a free discovery call with me and my team, or we can chat over Instagram if you're interested. So do that if you want to cut the learning curve. But if you want absolutely everything given to you right now with nothing held back for you to go ahead and start building your own online business from scratch, this is the perfect place to be. Let's jump into it. So firstly, I'll briefly cover my experience with dropshipping and e-commerce thus far. I'll also talk a little bit about how my mental state, physical health, and certain things in my personal life had to change in order to allow me to be successful with this business model. And then this full course will be broken up into 5 different modules. So module 1 will be centered around product research and what it takes to find your very first winning product. Module 2 will be on all things store setup. So this includes copywriting, the sales process, logos and graphic design work, and everything you need to build out a website from scratch. Module 3 will then be on different forms of advertising, including both paid methods as well as free or organic methods. Module 4 will be on fulfillment, automation, backend setup, hiring, and everything you need to do to run your business smoothly and effectively, as well as automation. And finally, module 5 will be on alternative advertising methods, golden nuggets, tips, tricks, and helpful hacks that I've figured out along the way. So stick around because I've poured months of ridiculously hard work into building this course out, and I truly believe that this video course right here is the best course for dropshipping and e-commerce out there, including both free and paid courses that people offer. And all I ask in return is that you go down to the description, smash the like button for me, as that'll help with the YouTube algorithm and help push this video out to more people to hopefully impact them, save them money and time. Some of you may already know me, so I'm just gonna go really brief on my story over the past 3 years and what got me to this point now. So a short 3 years ago, I was a freshman in college and I was constantly searching ways to make money online to keep up with the lifestyle and going out on the weekends and all the things that I wanted to do. And so I came across social media marketing. And the first thing I did was I built an agency from my dorm room in college. I noticed there was a lot of local businesses that needed help with their online presence, website, and selling their products online. And that was the route that led me into dropshipping because I was working with one client who was selling her own digital product. She had poured her life into this fitness course that she was selling online, and I helped her market it. I got it off the ground with Facebook ads, Google ads, SEO. In a short 2 weeks, she had done over $70,000 in online sales with a hefty profit margin because it's a digital product as well. And that money was absolutely life-changing for her, and it was life-changing for me seeing that she made that much money in such a short amount of time, and it motivated me to start selling products to the masses. So that's when I started dropshipping. I failed 4 stores before I had my first successful store, and I just kept pushing because I had seen so many people online talking about their success stories. I surrounded myself with success stories in Facebook groups and different networking channels, and all around me I saw people having success, and I knew it was only a matter of time before I could do the same. The biggest mindset shift that I had to have there was understanding that I was no different from the people that I saw on my screen, the same way that I really want you guys to understand that you are no different than me. I have no fancy degree, no special talents, no Einstein level IQ. I simply decided to sit down at my computer and try. Flash forward to now, I've done over $7 million in sales with my e-commerce brands. If you don't believe me, I have other videos on my YouTube channel breaking down these brands and how I've gotten to this point. Along the way, I also started posting to YouTube, Instagram, and other social media platforms as I built up my personal brand. And then I started an education company where I work one-on-one with students who want to follow the exact same process that I took to get me to where I am today. Additionally, not a lot of of people know about this, but I also have a creative agency, and I usually work with larger brands for that, as it's always something I've been passionate about ever since I started my first social media marketing agency back from my dorm room. Now, the beauty about dropshipping, e-commerce, and just the business model of making money online in general is that you can take it in so many different approaches. It can be passive income for you, it can be a part-time income, it can be your full-time career. Whatever it is, you can always find value from this information. You can take bits and pieces of this course, how to build a website or how to run ads, start an agency around one of those specific skills, get really good, and start making a lot of money. And remember, I was able to dive into dropshipping while being a full-time student, as well as having my social media marketing agency. So if I can do it, you definitely can do it too. Now, what does it take to be successful with dropshipping and e-commerce? Because anyone can consume all this information, but who will actually be the one to go on to start making a lot of money with it? Well, in my opinion, it comes down to one big mindset shift. I failed 4 stores before hitting my first successful winning product, and so for me at the time, I easily could have given up at any point along that journey. In fact, there was times where I was literally this close to giving up. I had drained my bank account. I was seeing all of my friends make good money in their part-time jobs, and I was sitting at home spending money and not making a single dime. The path of entrepreneurship can be lonely, especially at the beginning. You're gonna have to overcome a lot of obstacles and challenges, and I can tell you right away that it is simply not for everyone. But if you are at all passionate about entrepreneurship and you can develop a mindset like I did, where I knew it wasn't a matter of if I would become successful, but it became a matter of when. I was so sure, and I locked myself into entrepreneurship, and I knew at some point I would find the success if I just kept digging and kept working. And I knew that every single dollar I spent and got nothing in return was just a learning and an opportunity, and that at some point it would all compound into me eventually making way more money than I had ever thought. And I was right. Now, secondly, all the free content out there that you consume relating to dropshipping and e-commerce is not 100% accurate. And trust me, I've been there as well. When I was first starting and I was watching all these YouTubers, I didn't know who to believe, I didn't know who to trust. I absolutely promise you from the bottom of my heart, I would not be able to say this if it wasn't true, that this dropshipping course that I'm providing for free on YouTube is the best free content out there, and there's not a single ounce of information that I'm withholding. There's no little white lies. I'm not trying to sell you on anything. My education company is doing very well. Again, if you are interested, you can check it out, but I'm not pushing it on anyone at all, and I'll shut up about it at this point in the video for the rest of the video. And if you ever feel overwhelmed because I'm talking about so much and going through so many concepts, just understand that what I'm presenting to you guys today, I took 3 years of intense work, sleepless nights, 16-hour shifts of learning and working and failing over and over again to come up with all of this knowledge for you guys, so you don't have to take it in all on one go. But I recommend you save this video, you use it as a reference, share it to friends, and I wish you the best of luck as you go through this. Let's dive into module 1. All right, welcome to module 1, where I'll be talking about how to find winning products to build a winning brand in 2022 and beyond. Now, a lot of the stuff in this course, including this module, is gonna be focused around TikTok, because TikTok has been going crazy, as you guys know, both from the organic side of advertising and the paid side. So a lot of these product research recommendations will be geared towards TikTok as well, so keep that in mind. But first things first, let's dive into the product criteria checklist. So first thing we need to understand is, does the product solve a problem, or does it have a wow factor, or does it have potentially both? Okay, now both would be the best, but a winning product doesn't always have to have both. So firstly, you should ask yourself a few things when you find that product. Firstly, does that product solve a particular pain point? Okay, so is there a certain niche of people who could gain a lot of value out of using this product, and it could help them to solve an issue in their life? Now, second thing, could this product catch people on impulse? Okay, and this is really big for TikTok. So is the product cheap enough? Of course, number one. Now, is the product reasonably priced enough for somebody to pull out their credit card and want to buy it right away? That's huge when it comes to paid advertising on TikTok. It also does matter on Facebook. But for the most part, to be successful with dropshipping, especially right off the bat, you don't have customers taking weeks or even months to think about buying your product. So think about when you're buying, an Apple iPhone. Chances are you're gonna take some time to think about it, or maybe that's a bad example because everybody loves Apple and they're an insane company. But when you're buying a phone or a laptop, you're gonna take a lot of time, potentially even months, to think about buying this product. So for them, they're not driving instant ROI off of their ads. Yes, they're running ads, and yes, they're gaining a lot of benefit from their ads, but they're not getting that instant sale that we're looking for when it comes to dropshipping. We want to make our offer so irresistible that consumers are willing to pull out their credit card and buy right then and there the moment they see your ad. Okay, now the second piece is exclusivity or saturation. So can your product be found at your local Walmart, big box retailers? Can you find it on Amazon? You want to check all of these things. Now, sometimes it's okay if it can be found, but you want to make sure for the most part the product you're selling, especially if you're building a long-term brand, is pretty exclusive, meaning you can't just go out and get it super easily. And this also includes competition in the market. You know, are there millions of other dropshippers selling this exact same product right now, or is it relatively untapped? Now that's kind of a double-edged sword, okay? Because on one hand, if there's millions of people selling it, it definitely has a ton of demand and you could go above and beyond and take it into a brand. But on the other hand, if there's millions of people selling it, it's only going to make it more and more difficult for you to find success selling it, and you might have to invest thousands and thousands of dollars up front before you can build a brand and make your presence known. And lastly, you want to look at potential growth, okay? So is there room for improvement on the product? This means, can you iterate and make the next generation of the product once you have some cash flow? You can speak with manufacturers and start upgrading and redesigning it. Or is it a relatively static product? A great example of this is this upright go-to in the bottom right-hand corner of this page. It's a posture corrector, much like the original black one that went crazy on AliExpress. You guys know which one I'm talking about. Now this is an iteration on that product. You know, somebody found a way to make that product more sleek, more seamless. You can easily wear it under your shirt and it'll vibrate you when your posture is moving in the wrong direction. Versus, you know, the big bulky backpack looking thing that keeps you upright at all times. This is the better version of it, and that's why this company has found so much success, because they took a very hot product with lots of demand that solves a particular pain point for customers, and they made it even better. Now this one's kind of optional because obviously if you're selling, you know, a $300 product, you're probably not going to have a 2.5 or 3x markup on it. But for the most part, especially when it comes to TikTok dropshipping, you want to make sure you have at least a 2.5x or 3x markup on your product. And lastly, you want to make sure your product is in a passionate audience or niche. So there needs to be, you know, a thriving group of people out there in the world, ideally in an industry that's exploding and taking off. You can check Google Trends and do market research, which we'll get into in a moment here. But of course, you want to make sure you have a hungry market of buyers who are willing to buy your product. Now, here's some extra things to look out for that you might not have noticed right off the bat. And the first one's confirmation bias. So confirmation bias in the sense of dropshipping is basically when you want to justify selling a product because you like it yourself, or maybe even somebody close to you like your family or your friends will buy it. Now you have to remove this bias, because my largest brand to date that's done over $6 million in sales, I never would have bought that product myself, probably nor would any of my friends. But just know that there are 7 billion people on this planet, 3 billion of which are shopping on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok all the time for new products. And just because you wouldn't buy something or you wouldn't like something doesn't mean there isn't a hungry market out there for it. Secondly, of course, intuition and experience. This is huge, and you're only going to gain it with time and testing products. So don't get frustrated, don't give up after your first or second product. For me, it took me a whole host of products to really understand what a winning product looks like, and you're going to get better and better at this every single time. And then what you'll find is your success rate in testing products will go through the roof, because your intuition and your experience has just gotten so much better through seeing firsthand what works and what doesn't work on these ad platforms. Now, lastly, you have to think about passion too. As much as you want to make money and sell anything under the sun, you have to think about what aligns with you, especially if you want to take this into a long-term brand. You have to feel that you're actually going to be providing value to a certain group of people, and you also want to have passion for the brand and the direction of it. In doing so, you'll find yourself putting so much more time and effort as time goes on into the brand, the next generation of the product, and you'll be excited to see where you can take things. As opposed to if you had no passion at all, likely you would run up a winning product to 100K, 200K, make a good amount of money, and then move on because you realize you don't need the quick cash anymore, and the brand just wasn't something that you wanted to pursue long term. Now that is completely fine as well, and that's exactly how I started. but now I'm always thinking about building brands with a long-term vision and trying to align them with my own beliefs and values. And I definitely recommend going that route as well, because e-commerce is changing and the days of being able to throw up, a half-assed website and make 100K overnight are kind of gone. So diving into method number 1, we have the supplier method. So I found 70% of my winning products this way, and this method is something that not a lot of people reveal or talk about, but I promise you every single person who does numbers in the e-commerce community knows exactly what I'm talking about here. So a quick breakdown of what it looks like. First thing you want to do is contact suppliers on Alibaba, AliExpress, DHgate, Taobao, etc. There's so many different websites that have wholesale prices and inventory. Now you don't have to know what you're selling yet. So let's say you wanted to start here on AliExpress. You can literally just browse around, click on any product. It's actually a good product, but disregarding the product, you scroll down to the bottom where it says the name of the store. So this store is called Mini Bear. What you want to now do is look at the positive feedback and the followers. Usually anything above 90% is pretty solid. These guys have 96%, so they're doing well, and they have over 44,000 followers. I'd recommend looking for at least 5,000 to 10,000 followers, as that way you would know that they're pretty established and lots of people buy from them. Then what you want to do when they check out is you want to hit contact. Now, as you can see, as long as you're signed into an account that you made for free, this is the page it'll take you to. You'll likely get some sort of automated message like this, but what you want to do from here is then send them another message. I actually have an example of exactly what to do down here. So I found a product that I liked. I actually did sell this product for a bit, and I said, hey, I'm an experienced dropshipper looking to sell your product. Now this is gonna get them excited because you said you're experienced, or maybe you've told them how many numbers you've done. Now you don't have to lie or fabricate anything, so I'd recommend just trying to build that excitement, because they wanna make money just as bad as you do. So by me saying I'm an experienced dropshipper, they know right away that I could potentially make them a lot of money by selling their product. And then notice here, I said, please WhatsApp me, and then I left a number, okay? And this isn't actually my number, so if you're trying to spam me, it won't work. But as you can see here, they then drop their WhatsApp and you can carry over the conversation there. The big three are WhatsApp, WeChat, and Skype. I usually just straight up ask for the WhatsApp. I found so many of them have it, and I really like using WhatsApp myself anyway, so it works. Now, if you notice, I put spaces in between each letter of WhatsApp. Now, I did this for a very specific reason. I did this because AliExpress will actually take down my account and they'll ban me from messaging people if I didn't do that. So it's really, really important. And here's why. They make 7% fees on every single transaction, so AliExpress wants you to stay in their platform and purchase directly off of their website. But because they make those fees, the suppliers are gonna charge more money, and you have less flexibility with what you can do with them in terms of shipping lines and stuff like that. So as soon as you can get their messaging, then you can go talk to them, you can negotiate with them, you can ask to look at their factory, you can vet the product before you decide to sell it, and so much more. I would always recommend doing this no matter what. But here's the thing. Once you get this number, here's where the supplier method really comes in. You want to go ahead and message them and ask them exactly what's moving in their warehouse, in their factory. If they're working with any dropshippers right now, what products are trending, they know because they have access to all of the orders. They can see what they're fulfilling. They can see the products that are moving. So likely they'll send you a list of their top products because they want to make money too. And through that list, you can get access to so many winning products that are relatively untapped because not a lot of people have seen them popping up on Facebook ads yet, and they're just starting to take off. So that's this step here, inquire about the warehouse, inventory, existing retailers, etc. Then you want to launch on a branded niche store. This is my favorite way to do things. Build a Shopify store, which we'll get into in another module, around the niche that the product's in. So if you're selling a gardening tool, maybe you make a home improvement store, okay? If you're selling a cooking tool, maybe you make a kitchen store. If you're selling a hockey stick, maybe you make a sporting goods store, and so on and so forth. The next step in this kind of funnel situation here is you want to validate the product. You want to gain proof of concept, sales, profitability, and we'll talk all about that in advertising. And then of course, you want to continue to scale. Order into the warehouse, white labeling, packaging, logo, shipping, which we'll talk more about in the next modules. But that's it for the supplier method. Really simple, really straightforward. It's just about building those relationships with the suppliers and figuring out what products are trending right now. Little bonus supplier method for you, which I've actually found a great product this way. This is the local supplier method. So you can go to farmers markets, mom and pop shops, boutiques, Craigslist, Etsy, any type of, handmade goods or sellers who are building the products themselves out of their own home or a small little shop. And you can basically reach out to them and offer to sell their product at scale online. Chances are these people don't know how to run an online shop, and you can leverage the amazing handcraft products they built to make you a fortune, as well as build their business and make them some money too. What better way to boost your local economy? And it's a win-win for both of you. Now, when you're reaching out to these people, you're talking to them maybe at a farmer's market. Here's a picture of the night market where I live in Vancouver. What you want to do is ask them if they can do volume, because you want to grow this brand. Are they able to pump out 100, 200, 300, 1,000 units per week if you were to get to that scale? You want to ask them if you can private label their products with your own branding so that you can build your own business around it. You can ask them if you can innovate and iterate on the product, if you want to, add some adjustments, make some tweaks to make it more your own. And then you want to obviously talk to them about the quality of the product too, and make sure it actually does what the intended purpose of it is, and it will provide value to the consumer. And lastly, you want to build out a contract so you're protected as well. Negotiate, find a reasonable price point so that you can make as much money as possible, but you're also not ripping them off entirely. You want to create that win-win situation. Figure out bulk pricing, because chances are you can get the product cheaper and cheaper as they step up in volume, and maybe even ask them for an initial trial period if you're worried that the brand might not take off and you just kind of want to test with their product. Now on to the next method, we have the free method. Now starting with AliExpress, you can just go scroll through any category, pick on a specific niche like hoodies and sweatshirts, and start scrolling around, looking at different suppliers, looking at different options, looking at reviews, seeing what's selling hot, going to even the homepage and looking at tons of trending products. It's pretty straightforward. Then you have the Facebook search method. For this one, all you want to do is go up to the search bar and type in shopnow.bitly. Now, lots of brands use .bitly to shorten their links, and if you hit shop now, it's obviously going to show you videos and images that are relating to a product because it's trying to get you to purchase. So right away we can scroll and we can see some top products. This looks like some kind of cool hair clip. Down here we have some sort of jeans that are supposed to hug your waist and bring them in, I guess, and they're really stretchy. And so you can just scroll and find tons of different products. And that's actually the perfect segue into my next method, which is the general store approach of the free method. Because once you find a store, and I know this is a good store because I use them myself for the general method, you can click on their Facebook page and you can scroll down to where it says page transparency, click see all, and then click go to ad library. What this is going to do, it's going to bring up all the ads that they're actively running. Now, if they're actively running an ad, chances are they're making money on the product. Otherwise, they wouldn't be running the ad, especially if it's been running for a long time. If it just started running yesterday, maybe they're testing it out. So I usually like to scroll down to ones that are more proven and ones that have been running for at least a couple weeks. Now here we can see tons of different lighting products. These guys are kind of in the home improvement / lighting niche, and I definitely frequently check back to see what's working for them. Now the next part of the free method is Facebook and TikTok pixelation. So what this means is when you're scrolling Facebook or your TikTok feed as you normally would, anytime you come across an ad of a product, what you want to do is click on the ad, go to the website, go through their checkout process. You don't actually have to buy the product, but add it to the cart, go to the checkout page, all those things. And so what that's going to tell TikTok and Facebook is that you're an active consumer ready to buy a product. So they're gonna start firing off tons of product ads to you, and then you can simply scroll through those ads on your feed as you normally would, build it into your daily routine of checking social media, and you can actually come across a lot of hot products by simply doing this. And the last thing here that we have is free Chrome extensions. So this is perfect for the general store method. Remember what I was talking about with Arcture here? If we just go over to Google and we type in Arcture, we can come on their website, and as you can see on the bottom here, I have this extension installed which is called Alley Hunter. It's a pretty good one. There's tons of ones that do similar features, but if you go over to this panel right here called product, it'll actually just list out the best selling products for them. So of all time, the custom moonlight they had has been their best selling product, then the light of life lamp, then the moonlight. I mean, these are all huge dropshipping products, so it makes sense, followed by all these other ones, and you can just scroll to see what products are selling really well for them. Also, this competitors tab shows you different competitors selling the same product, so you can check out other websites and stuff like that. Apps used shows you what Shopify apps they're using. If you want to pay for premium, you can actually see how many orders they're getting and their store's performance in real time and stuff like that. I don't really need to do that much anymore. I used to have it, but yeah. Anyways, I'm not really promoting them, but just wanted to show you it's something that I use myself. I'm not going to plug you on any affiliate link or anything. There's tons of other free Chrome extensions that do the exact same thing. Now, onto the paid research method, we have ad spying platforms, okay? And that's pretty much it. There are other platforms out there that don't have ad spying features, but I just found ad spying platforms to be the fastest, the most effective, and also great for competitor research. That's why I like using them, and I have a list of 3 here that are pretty much all you need. We have Minea, PP Ads, and Drop I Spy. Now, the top 2, Minea and PP Ads, are very, very good for TikTok ads, and Drop I Spy is a little bit more catered towards Facebook ads. So once you know how to use one of these ad spying tools, you know how to use all of them, because they're all effectively the same thing, just with different products. How they work is they have teams who constantly sift through Facebook and TikTok and select winning ads and put them onto their platform. That's why it's a good recommendation to get more than just one, so you can get access to different kinds of products in case the teams missed some of the best products out there. But for example, I'm just gonna show you one of them because they all function the exact same. So let's start with Minea. I'm on the homepage of my Minea account here. There's so many different features, but all you really need to pay attention to are these 3 here: Facebook ads, Pinterest ads, and TikTok ads, which is the collection of all the winning advertisements right now. I'm gonna show you TikTok ads just because it's the newest one, but they're all very similar. So now what you wanna do is you wanna add some filters so you can narrow down your search. So first thing you want to do is go to countries. I usually select United States, United Kingdom, because these are places that I'm actually going to be targeting when I launch the ads myself. And again, we'll get into that in the advertising module. Ecom type, you want to click on Shopify. Then you can choose the amount of likes and the amount of plays it has. Usually I just add one filter, and that's usually likes, and I add about minimum 1,000 likes. Having a minimum of 1,000 likes means the product was ran enough to likely have been profitable. So if we go to seen date, I usually like to go last 30 days so I can see ads that were last seen in the last 30 days. You don't want to be looking at ads that were seen 2, 3, 4 years ago and that have died off. And from here, all you want to do is simply scroll. You can go ahead and add products to folders and lists and save them and stuff like that once you find ones that you like, and then come back to them later. If you click on the product itself, they'll have video ads, they'll take you to the AliExpress page. And again, everything is so much more faster and effective when you are using a platform like this. By the way, all the platforms that I am discussing in the course that are external will all be linked below in the description, so you guys can go pick it up. And some of them have unique discount codes for me and my audience as well. I just have one more slide for you guys on product research, and this is to do with market research. So it's a bit broader, but it helps you find untapped markets and goldmine niches. So the first couple of things are exploding topics and Google Trends. They're both very similar. Exploding topics and Google Trends helps you find new and upcoming niches and markets to take advantage of. Google Trends is a little bit different because you have to search for it yourself, whereas Exploding Topics can show you a collection on the homepage. They both work similar though, so I'm not going to go ahead and show you both. But for example, if we want to see what's selling well right now, let's think of a niche. Let's think of the kitchen niche. So if we expand this out to the past 5 years, as you can see, there's been steady growth in the search term kitchen, which means that lots of people have been looking to buy products in the kitchen niche overall. And likely the growth can be explained by just the growth of e-commerce in general, because it is in this kind of linear fashion. So I wouldn't worry or stress too much about that. But what you don't want to do is start selling products that are on a downward trajectory. It does look like this is going on a bit of a downward trajectory, but sometimes it's false, and especially when it's been so linear like this the entire time, I actually highly doubt kitchen's gonna go to 0 like it says that it might. So when things are in a kind of linear fashion like this, there's always demand, there's always a market for it. Now let's try something more summer oriented as we are heading into summer here. Let's try the term camping. What you're gonna see is every single summer it spikes up like crazy, and look where we're going right now. We're going up. I don't know why this line's projecting down, but we're definitely on our way up for another summer where tons of people are gonna be looking up the term camping and buying everything from mattresses to water bottles to backpacks and anything they need to use on their expeditions. But with that pretty much sums up module 1, product research, and now you guys have the entire toolkit to go out and start finding yourself some winning products. Now let's move on to what we do when we actually find ourselves a product. All right, so welcome to the next module. After testing dozens and dozens of Shopify stores, I've finally got this down to a proven practice that takes me no longer than about 45 minutes to an hour all in to set up a Shopify store and have it ready to go for testing your brand new product. So we'll go over everything from choosing the right content to optimizing your website, the site load time, all the different apps that you need, your sales process, optimizing your funnel for conversions, the back-end work and setup for fulfillment, legal pages, and all that kind of stuff. But without any further ado, let's just get straight into this. All right, so kicking it off with the first step checklist here, we need a Shopify free trial setup. We need to set up the name and domain name. We need to select our first product. decide if we're gonna do a niche store, a one product store, a general store, and then select an additional 1 to 2 products as upsells, cross sells, maybe even bundles, depending on the niche, depending on the product. So again, a lot of this stuff is gonna vary depending on what product you're selling, but for the most part, the system is pretty plug and play, and we can just go through these checklists, which will help us out during the creation setup. So first things first, we need a new email account. So I'm just gonna go over here and click create a new Gmail account. And perfect, we have our email account set up. It's as simple as that. Now, the reason why it's nice to have a fresh email account that you keep separate from your personal email is obviously so you can manage all of your business stuff in one place. This is just my preferred way to do it. In fact, every new store that I start, I pretty much use a different email for each one because I have the long-term goal of taking it into a brand, in which case it's nice to have all of its assets under one Google Drive and all of the emails, the VA work, all that kind of stuff done through one email and one Google Suite. But now, of course, we need our Shopify free trial. We just go type in Shopify sign up. It should pop up here somewhere. There we go. And we can just hit start free trial. Now all we got to do is go ahead and pop in our email that we just created, password, and then set a store name. It's helpful if you do know what you want to call your store at this point, but it really doesn't matter because you can always change this quite easily later on. For now, I just called it test store. And this little questionnaire, you don't have to know all of the answers to it right now either, so I'm just going to skip most of this actually. If you do have a better idea, it does help, but again, you can always go back and add it later. Now this part's pretty crucial. You need to add your address so that you can actually get paid out. So I'm just gonna go ahead and fill in this information real quick. And bingo, that's all we need. It'll just say at the bottom, your trial has just started. So welcome to the Shopify dashboard. It's pretty simple. This is your home page. They're gonna give you a bunch of tips, tricks, recommendations, and we'll start working through the rest of the pages now. Our next step here is to choose our name and domain name. So the easiest way to do this is to just go over these down here and then buy a new domain. Now you can do this on GoDaddy for $1 and then connect it, which is pretty simple as well. But it's about, I think, $7 or $14, somewhere around there on Shopify. So I usually just buy it straight through here because it's relatively inexpensive. And in the beginning, if you don't want to spend any money at all, you don't actually need a domain name because you can route the traffic to the .myshopify.com. Of course, when you are building a brand, it's nice to have your own domain name though. So I would recommend getting one pretty early on. For the sake of this store, I'm not actually going to buy one because it's kind of unnecessary, but I'm just going to show you the process that I would take to go through buying one. So now at this point, we got to think of a name. But obviously what goes hand in hand with the name is what type of product and what type of store you're running. So for me, I love doing niche stores, and niche stores is basically when you pick a certain niche, so whether it's cooking, whether it's camping, whether it's cleaning, home improvement, lighting, so many great niches out there that you can sell products, and there are tons of hot products in. So I got to choose a product. For this, let's go back over to Mania, which I showed you guys about in the product research module, and I'll quickly take a look at Tik Tok ads. And here's a pretty popular product that I've been seeing around quite a bit. So for this test store, I'm gonna be going with this product. Would I actually sell it? It'd be worth a test, and with the right creatives, I think it can do well on TikTok. It is quite saturated, meaning the competition is really intense. There's tons. You can see 2 ads right here for this product. A couple big players dominate the market for this product, and I've done a lot of research on it in the past. So I probably wouldn't sell it, knowing what I know about the product and how many people are selling it. And nonetheless, you can make a lot of money with it, especially if you use organic TikTok and make the right cool creatives that nobody else is using. A lot of advertising comes down to the creatives, and we will talk about that in the advertising portion as well. But for now, let's run with this product. I think it looks pretty good. If I click on here and then I click on see product, it'll take me to a website of another company that's selling the product right now. And then remember the Chrome extension tool that I was using. If I go to product here and click find suppliers, it should instantly show me a bunch of different suppliers that I can get this product from. Perfect, so here's a supplier on AliExpress for this product. It's got about 74 reviews, 4.9 stars, 336 orders. And if I look at the supplier, they have 96% positive feedback. So this looks like a pretty good bet. Now remember what I was saying about contacting the supplier. I would normally go ahead and do that right away, but just for the sake of this video so I can continue and hurry this along, I want to immediately start building out the store. But we were at name and domain name setup. So now I gotta think of a cool name for this store. Now, because it's kind of in the DIY lighting slash, aesthetic room improvement niche, I have to think of a clever name in that realm. So one tool that helps me, and it's completely free, is just the thesaurus, okay? So this helps me come up with really cool names, because all I do is I go ahead and I search up something that relates to the product. So in this case, I just look up light, and so many synonyms for light is gonna start showing up, like bright, luminous, rich, shiny, sunny. And I can just look at these and kind of feel what speaks to me, and then make the name based on one of those. Now, there's a couple different ways you can go about naming your store. You can just pick something that really speaks to you or jumps out at you. You can grab one of these synonyms right here. You can kind of mix and match, two of these synonyms, or mix it with any word you want, or you can just make up a word altogether that doesn't exist. I honestly like doing this quite a bit because it can sound cool, and eventually the name can be really branded to your store. So for this, I'm just gonna pick one of these here randomly. Let's go with luminous, and then let's pick another one. Let's go with brilliant. So how can I combine these two into a word that does not already exist? Berluminous. Berluminous? That doesn't sound too good. Luminant? Illuminant? No. Luminant. Lumiliant? Lumiliant? Ooh, okay, that's not working. Let's pick two more. Actually, you know what? Luminous and brilliant. Brelumin. Breluminous? Brelumin? Whatever. I don't mind it. Brelumin. Brelumin. And there you go. The name is unavailable, which means somebody else has it, and you want to buy the .com domain. It's typically the best way to go about it. You can buy other domains, but the .com one's always the most common one, right? So if you did have a .ca, which is a Canadian domain, but somebody else had the .com domain, then chances are a lot of people who are looking up the name of your store in the future might accidentally go to the .com domain and see a completely different site, which is not what you want. You want them to land on your site. So it is nice to have the .com domain, and later you can add in other domains. But let's go back to the thesaurus there and just see if we can come up with a better name. Cloudless, maybe let's just try a different word here. Let's try bright. Golden, I like golden. Moonlit golden. Doesn't sound too bad. Just stick those two together. Moonlit golden. And there we go. Available to buy. So when you're happy with your name, that's literally that simple. You don't have to put too much thought into it again, because you can always buy a new domain name later. We're gonna go with Moon. Back to our store setup here. Now that we know we have a niche product, we selected our product, we have a name and domain set up, we got the free trial, we got the Gmail set up, we need to start looking at 1 to 2 additional products. Now this can come here in the first step section, or it can come at the end, or it can always come later, but I like to kind of just at least get an idea of other products that I could be selling. So right over here, when I looked up 3D custom night lamp, you can already see a bunch of different cool lighting products, like these hexagonal lights, this moon lamp over here, this acrylic LED nightlight base, these stick-on lights, this Pac-Man light up sort of, I don't even know what to call it, little lamp thing. Down here you can see, different kinds of 3D lamps and stuff like that, tons of different custom fixtures. But overall, it's really simple to add products in that already have demand, that are already doing well. And the nice thing about this part is you don't have to, search for that winning product. You can take one that's already been scaled to an excessive amount. In fact, a lot of the times that is better because the product's gonna sell. So a great upsell for this would be this moon lamp right here. If somebody's buying these custom portraits, chances are they're willing to buy a moonlight because it's kind of in the same niche. It's kind of gonna have the same effect except for the custom aspect of it. It does look cool. It's a cool lighting product to throw in your room. So a lot of people are gonna be interested in that as well. So many great products nonetheless. Now that I have an idea of it, I can always come back later and add it to the store. All right, now onto the product page checklist. This is gonna be the most important part. That initial beginning stuff that I did is kind of just laying the foundation. The product page checklist is actually building out, what customers are gonna see. It's actually the sales process and the funnel, and goes and it encompasses everything from copywriting to images to videos to GIFs to the structure of your funnel to how everything looks as a whole, to your conversion rates and your process, and exactly what's going to get customers to move and want to purchase. So this is the piece right here that is the most important. And then after this, we'll talk about backend setup and just getting all the settings right before launch. Okay, so now the first step of copywriting is doing market research, product research, and competitor research. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to find similar listings to your product. Maybe they're on Amazon, maybe they're on other websites, other stores selling it, or if there is none, a similar product nonetheless. You want to then look at reviews of the product, see what people are saying about the product, see what the suppliers, what the manufacturers are saying about the product, see how other stores are marketing it, and you want to take that all in. I recommend making like a Google document or something and adding as much information as possible to that Google document of all the research you accumulate from these kind of 3 pillars here. I'll do a little bit of this, but I already have a solid understanding of what the product is just because I've done research on it in the past, and I know exactly how it operates, how it functions, what it's used for, the intended purpose of it, the different marketing angles that I could come at it with, and so much more. So I won't have to do a full in-depth process of this, but I'll do a little bit to show you guys. The next thing we want to do is figure out how to drive conversions with effective copywriting. So there's a couple different tactics and tricks you can do. You can do catchphrases and taglines. You can use conciseness. You can make your copy very benefit driven, which is super, super huge. You can add shipping, FAQs, guarantees, all of that kind of stuff to build more trust with your consumer and actually get them to pull up their credit card and spend. Now I want to highlight one thing right here, and that's conciseness, okay? So I'm not a copywriting expert. I've never specialized in it or claimed to be one, but I write a lot of the copy for my own stores up to a certain point and it still converts. And the reason for this is I'm very, very concise, simple, straight, and to the point with the copy. I've always understood that no one wants to read huge blocky paragraphs of text. I mean, when you go to Amazon sometimes and you look at products, you only see all those texts with the specifications of the product and everything like that. Do you ever read any of that? No, chances are you look at the few images of the product, maybe you look at a couple of reviews, you see the main description, 1 or 2 points, and you have enough information to go ahead and make your purchase, right? What we need to do is give people the information enough to make their purchase in the most concise way to remove friction from the buying process. That's really, really important. And if you can, slip in benefits, right? You want to show them how this product can impact their life and add value to them and solve their problems, okay? Now you can do this in the form of catchphrases, taglines. You can use a couple different sentences and have, keywords bolded and stuff like that. There's different ways to draw attention to what needs to be driven home to the consumer, and we'll get into that as soon as I start writing the copy. And then lastly, building trust is super, super important. I would always recommend having, FAQs, guarantees, shipping, especially if it's a product that is really hard to use or it's not super simple or it's not straightforward and to the point just by looking at it. In that case, you definitely need FAQs and you definitely need a shipping policy and likely even a guarantee as well. Any type of tech product, if it involves lighting, if it involves basically plugging it into an outlet in order to use it, people are going to be a little bit worried because they're going to be, oh, what if it malfunctions? What if it breaks? What if it shows up broken? Well, that way, if you have guarantees, you have, a great shipping policy and your shipping's fast, people aren't going to be too worried about that. So for this particular product too, this applies quite well. Now, the next part, and arguably even more important, is how you sell your product through images. And you probably heard that saying that, one picture tells 1,000 words, or whatever that saying is called, something like that. So if one picture is equivalent to 1,000 words, I got a question for you. How many words is one video or one GIF equivalent to, okay? So depending on the product, videos can be super, super important, especially if it's, a process to set up or whatever. Having a great video on your landing page could make a huge jump in your conversion rate. Also, adding GIFs and little lifestyle clips of people actually using the product in action can be huge. I think for this product, we probably won't make a full breakdown video on it, but we'll have different GIFs and stuff like that. So at least it's not solely static images. Although static images can be very, very good as well, especially when it comes to the actual product page, because that's the first thing people are gonna see. Later on, if you're running, Google search ads and stuff like that, people are gonna see that pop up and they're gonna make their decision right then and there from the images. So for this, the best 2 types of images you need are studio photos and lifestyle photos. And typically you need a blend of both. People wanna see the product in action as it's intended to be used, but they also wanna see the specifics of the product as well. And I'll show you what I mean by that. Okay, so now starting with the market research, product research, competitor research, finding reviews of the product, all that kind of stuff. I'm gonna rip through that real quick. It'll probably take me 10-15 minutes again because I already know stuff about this product. I'll probably put this on time lapse so you don't have to sit through all of it. And then I'll briefly explain what I did at the end so you can follow along and make sure you do the same process for your store. First thing I'm gonna do is pull up a little Google document so I can consolidate all the information onto one doc right here. I'm gonna start looking. So I'm just gonna go to Google. I'm gonna type in 3D glow in the dark night lamp custom. And I'm gonna start looking. Tons of different stores popping up here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and open up a few of these stores. I'm also gonna go look on Etsy. I'm gonna look on Amazon. I'm gonna look on a bunch of different places, and I'll catch you in a minute. Now bear in mind that it doesn't need to be perfect. I've had to reject my perfectionism so many times, and learning to do that is such a skill, because I know each and every one of you want to take 12 hours to make the perfect copy and edit every last word. But that's just not how this game works, because if you were to do that, you wouldn't have enough time to test enough products. You wouldn't get any initial results. You'd likely get discouraged and you get emotionally attached to the product. So I'm telling you right now, please, huge tip. Don't worry about perfectionism. You can always go back and redo it later. And I think, going off on a little rant here, but I think the way that our school system is, you get, let's say, an essay in English class, and once it's turned in, you get a mark, you never see it again, and that's how you did. But in the real world, or at least in business, and specifically with dropshipping, you can turn in your project, example, the copywriting, your website, whatever. You can launch ads, you can drive traffic. If you don't get good results, you can read the data and you can come back and you can change it. And you can perpetually change it. And you should always be changing it. That's how even the biggest companies in the world, their websites are never gonna remain the same. In fact, they're always changing it, right? And so that's what we need to do, is we need to learn how to reject perfectionism and just get a quick initial test and launch in, and then come back and make all the edits you need later. And you'll be even more motivated to do so when you start seeing some revenue coming in. So in the beginning, this is really all we're gonna need to draft up the copy. I've made a few key points at the top here from some of the research that I've conducted. Moonlit Golden Lamps Custom LED Night Lamp will bring any memory to life. Surprise your loved ones by turning them into your light of love. Simply send us your desired image and we'll craft a steam beach wood stand with your custom LED image photoshopped in detail onto an acrylic panel. Our custom lamps make the perfect, unique, and thoughtful gift for friends, family, or that special someone. So what I've done here, benefit-driven text, okay, surprise your loved ones. That's a huge benefit and a reason for why you'd want to purchase this product. Bring any memory to life. Of course, that sounds like a great thing you want to do, right? And you can use this as the main catchphrase or the kind of tagline, the punchline at the initial top of your product page. Simply send us your desired image. So then this part here, I'm more explaining on how to actually use this and how to, purchase from us and what kind of happens next, just to clear things up a little bit there. The next part is our custom lamps make the perfect, unique, and thoughtful gift for friends, family, or that special someone. Again, really just outlining who you can buy this for. It doesn't have to be yourself. It can also be your friends, family, or your girlfriend or something like that. Then of course, technical specifications, and this is not done. I've just drafted up a few things. We're definitely gonna think of more and polish it quite a bit, but just the start, and not bad for a couple minutes of quick research here. And then down here I have some descriptions that I've taken inspiration from other websites selling this product. And I also have some ordering instructions that other people have on their website, and then some delivery information, and just kind of seeing what other people are doing. And then I looked at some reviews as well on Etsy and other platforms like that. And I just wanted to consolidate that and keep this here for now, because it will come in handy when I'm building out the product page. So now the next step is gathering content, and you have to be careful with this. So images, videos, stuff like that, because you don't want to get sued. You don't want to use other people's and find yourself in legal trouble. You want to make sure all the images and content you use are copyright free. Now, a lot of the ways you can do this is starting with AliExpress, the actual listings itself. And sometimes these suppliers will actually use content that they've stolen from somebody else who has a brand. But my experience is telling me that these images actually came from the supplier themselves, just the way that they're laid out. If you're unsure about it, you can message and contact the supplier, which you should be doing anyway. But because I'm like 99% sure that these images here are fair game for me to use, then I'm gonna go ahead and start using them. I'm also gonna check around Google. I'm gonna check Pexels is a great one. I'm gonna check the Shopify free image store, whatever it's attached to your Shopify platform inside of the website builder. And I'm gonna get a bunch of content together and save it in a folder. You don't really need to watch me do this part, but I'll throw it on a time lapse anyways, just in case. Alright, so basically I saved all of these images here to a folder. Again, that extension that I have also allows me to download all of the images from one click, which is really nice and saves a lot of time. And then I saved a couple of the images down here as well. And remember, you don't need to go crazy, because you can always come back and add more images and customize things and use a tool like Canva to make things look even better. For now, I just want to get some content together, and now that we have some copywriting stuff together, some images together, we can start building out the website and making all the necessary changes. And we're going to make a lot of changes as we go, right? The point of this first part was just do some research, gather some information, gather some content that was free and available for the taking, and now it's time to actually get into the design aspect of things. Now theme, let's talk about that. So it's given me the Dawn theme right off the bat, which is a basic classic Shopify theme, which is actually pretty decent. And once you know how to use one theme, you pretty much know how to use all of them. The website builder is pretty much the same across any theme. There's obviously going to be some different aspects and things that you can use. But for this example, I'm just going to show you guys building it out on the theme that it gave me, which is still going to be good. If you do want to go the extra mile and pay for some additional themes, one theme that I really like is the Impulse theme. I think it's like $200. I'll link it down below or something like that. There's also Debutify, which is completely free. And yeah, off the top of my head, those are kind of two that I would go with. But even the basic free themes can get the job done, and it's all you need in the beginning, and then later on you can go and reinvest in some of the more expensive themes that have different capabilities. So I'm going to go ahead and click Customize. And as you can see, we basically have nothing going on here. We have a bunch of different columns and stuff already preloaded and set up for us. It's all on the left to go ahead and edit. That's the home page. They have a catalog, a contact page on the menu, and all of that. But we're actually not going to use any of this right now. I just wanted to show you guys kind of the website builder, and we'll come back to it later, because the most important thing is the actual product page itself. So firstly, we need to go to product, and we need to add our product. Now you can do this through, there's apps like Oberlo, and actually Oberlo I think is closing down, but there's a bunch of similar apps that you can import things easily in one click from AliExpress. But I like to actually come out here and just build out the product itself. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later and why I do that. It has to relate to the supplier and the auto integrations that I like using for fulfillment. But for now, we're just gonna come here and start building out the product itself. So for the name, keep it pretty simple. I'm just gonna call it Moonlit Golden Custom LED Lamp, okay? If you can think of something really creative, then you can do so. But in the beginning, it's not going to affect your conversion rate a whole lot, and we have to preserve our mental bandwidth for the things that are. So I'm just going to go ahead and call it that. Then for copy, I'm going to go ahead and paste some of this stuff that I wrote into here. And notice how I kind of have 4 key points, and that's because in between each key point, I wanted to have an image or a GIF or something like that. So right below this one, the main punchline here, Moonlit Golden's custom LED night lamp will bring any memory to life. I want to go ahead and add an image. And you want to add images when you're adding them with the text like that makes sense, okay? And usually I like to go for original size, so it keeps the quality of the original image. But as you can see here, this image makes sense because it's showing you exactly what happens when you upload your image. It's showing you how it's created, the design effect, and then the final output, which makes sense because the text here says it will bring any memory to life. And this image here is showing us exactly how this product has brought this image to real life. So I'm just gonna keep plugging away at this for a little bit. And then I just threw in a guarantee at the bottom. All custom lamps are carefully crafted, packed, and shipped within 3 business days of purchase. We use expedited worldwide shipping, and your package is guaranteed to be delivered within 7 to 15 days after placing your order. If for whatever reason you are unsatisfied with your purchase, we offer a 30-day full money-back guarantee. We even cover shipping, no questions asked. That's gonna help increase trust and help push people over the edge to purchase the product. Of course, we'll get into the shipping and stuff like that when we actually touch base with the supplier in the next module. But for now, this is the product page. I think it's looking pretty decent. A few good images. Ideally, I want more of a lifestyle image, but we can always change that later. And a GIF or some type of like little short video would be nice towards the end. But overall, it's not too bad. So now we got to think of the price point. So earlier when I was doing research, I was seeing that a lot of people were selling the product for around $60, $70, even $80. It looks like the average price to get it from a supplier is around $20. So I'm going to give that at least a 2x markup like we talked about in the previous module, or 2.5x markup. And we're going to go for a $49.99 price point. The reason why I go a little lower and try to undercut the competitors in the beginning is because I want to see if people are going to buy the product, if there's demand, right? And if people aren't going to buy it at this low of a price point, then they're probably not going to buy it when I eventually raise it to $80, $90, $100. So there's no point of starting out really, really high, but you also don't want to start out really, really low, okay? Because that's going to give your product the perception that it's cheap and it's a dropshipping product and all this, and people are going to turn away. So it still needs to be premium priced. I'd say, you know, for this, anywhere between $49.99 and $59.99 is pretty solid. So I'm going to start here, and we're going to do the classic offer for now of 50% off. So the product is originally going to be $99.99. Now we'll get into offers and all that stuff later, but for now, the classic 50% offer is a great place to start, and you can always test more offers moving forward. As far as that's pretty much everything that we need on the product page right now. So I'm going to change the product status to active and go ahead and click save. All right, so now the product page checklist is semi-complete. Again, we'll come back and refine things later. We now have to work on the back-end setup of the store. So this is going to cover legal pages, the home page, contact us page, ideally a track your order page. We're going to talk about apps such as A-reviews and different apps that involve post-purchase upsells, which is really, really crucial, especially when you're building out a brand. Different trust, urgency, and scarcity tactics that can also be used through apps. And we have more apps, obviously, we'll talk about, which includes stuff like image optimization and speed. And then we'll do some pixel setup walkthrough, particularly for TikTok. And then we'll do supplier integrations and talk a bit about how all of that works. Right off the bat, let's just go through the settings and make sure everything is up to par, and you guys can follow along if you're building a store as well. So basic information, nothing really too important here. We just have the name of the company, the legal name of the company if you're incorporated or anything like that. But now one thing that is really important is the store currency. So we need to change this to US dollars. I'm in Canada, but changing it to US dollars is really, really crucial because the largest market for e-commerce is in the US. That's typically where I'm advertising to. Now, if you are advertising to a specific country only, obviously you want to have everything in that currency. But for me, US dollars is what I need. And for about 90% of you, I reckon it's what you're going to need as well. So we're going to go ahead and keep it that way. And then we're going to go over to plan. This is where you'll eventually purchase the Shopify plan. As you can see, I'm on the free trial for now. And also a little point of advice, if you want to extend your free trial, it's really easy. All you have to do is go over to the help section of Shopify, fire them a quick email and say something along the lines of, hey, I was working on my store and I don't think I'll be able to have it ready until my trial runs out. Is there any chance you could extend my free trial so I can continue working on it and seeing if Shopify is the right platform for me? They want you to use their platform as opposed to, you know, WordPress or other Wix or other websites out there. So they're going to do whatever they can to keep you as a long-term customer of theirs. And time again, this has worked. And, you know, it's not going to save you a whole lot of money. Usually they're going to extend it for about 30 days. So it'll save you like $30. But over the course of, 10 different stores, if you're always testing products and building stores, it's just the perfect little hack that you need to know. But for now, we're gonna have this store done literally today, so we don't have to be bothered by any of that. And then later we can come back and purchase it. For billing, you wanna go ahead and put your billing information here so that way it can bill you for the Shopify subscriptions, the apps, and anything like that you need to be charged with. Then users and permissions, this is where you can add staff accounts and collaborators, eventually an accountant, eventually a VA, stuff like that. Payments over here, this is where you want to set up your payments. Hit complete account setup, and you can use Shopify payments in the beginning. They're not too bad. The rate isn't super high that they take. So it's a pretty decent place to start out. Eventually you can look at third-party payment processors, but for now, Shopify payments and PayPal is really all that you would need. So you go ahead and set those two up. Very simple. You just put in your bank account information and stuff like that. Not a whole lot going on here. It's just kind of the specifics of the checkout process. And so it's gonna ask you if you wanna automatically fulfill the orders or don't automatically fulfill and stuff like that. Pretty much for now, I just literally leave all of this as is, and I'll tell you about why I do that later with supplier integration and all that kind of stuff. Shipping and delivery, you do kind of want to set up some sort of shipping rates. And again, I usually do this after I actually work out the product price with the supplier and everything. So for now, we're gonna leave it as is. Taxes and duties, you don't got to worry about that for now. I know for me, it's once I hit $30,000 in revenue with a new business, then I have to start paying taxes and I have to incorporate or set up a legal structure. So usually there's ways to get around this in the beginning, and that's what you want to do, right? Because you don't want to jump in, incorporate, spend all this money, and then realize you're going to shut down the business and do something else. So always start off like this. Don't bother with taxes. It's a really good problem to run into when you are making that much money. And in that case, we'll talk a little bit about taxes and stuff in a later module. Allocations, gift cards, none of this stuff really matters too much. Markets, you want to go ahead and add the market of any country that you are selling to. For now, our primary market's only the US, so we'll just keep it that way. Sales channels, you're gonna have different sales channels and marketing channels through here. Your domains, this is, remember what we talked about earlier with connecting the domain. Brand, so this is different logos and your colors of your brand and stuff like that you can save on here, which is a pretty neat feature. And then notifications, just how you want to be notified for certain things to your email and stuff like that. And then meta fields and files, don't really gotta worry about that. Files are just gonna store all the images that you've uploaded and used on your website developer and things like that. Languages, you can add different languages for your store. And lastly, policies, this is where we're gonna set up the legal pages. I just create them all from templates. So the template that Shopify already has is pretty solid and it's got your back. Obviously, when you're scaling up to, multi thousands of dollars and you're worried about getting sued and all that kind of stuff, then you can come back later and you can edit all this information. But for now, you can leave it as is, and you just have to change a few small things. So if you want to change the email, you can do that. If you want to insert your return address and wherever these brackets are, you can go ahead and update it to your address, your company information, anything like that. So it's pretty straightforward there. And once you have that down, you pretty much have all the settings and the back-end stuff set up. But now we got to finish kind of building out the rest of the store that isn't directly related to the product page. So if we go over here to online store, what you can see is themes, blog posts, pages, navigation, preferences. We want to start at pages. And what we want to do is we want to open this contact us page here, make sure it's defined as the contact in the theme template, and then provide a little bit of information on how your customer can contact you. So for me, I'll just say, if you have any questions or concerns about your order, please reach out via email at nathandoesecommerce123@gmail.com or fill out the form below, and then maybe set a little expectation for them as well. You can say you can expect a prompt response within 24 to 48 hours of submitting your ticket. And that's pretty much all you need there, and I'll show you what happens later when we open up that page itself. Now the next page we want to add, and this is optional, is a track your order page. So I'm not going to add it for this because it is optional, but I do like to add it for a lot of different stores, especially when I have tons of products and people are wondering where their product is. For that, you can use different types of apps which automatically integrate to a platform where they can type in their tracking number and see. A good app like that is called Aftership. But what you can also do is you can just go track my order, and then you can give them a little bit of information. So you can say something like, wondering when your package will arrive, please click the link below and use the tracking number sent to your email to find out where your package currently is. Okay, and then you can add a link. 17 Tracks, a good website for all-in-one package tracking. So you can add a link, and we'll talk a little bit more about this when we work with a supplier and set that kind of stuff up. But for now, this would really be all you need. I'm not even gonna publish it on the store because again, it is optional, and you can also do all this stuff by email, and eventually when you have a VA and stuff like that, you might not need it on the store anyway. So for now, those are kind of the two pages that you're really gonna need. Besides that, you'll have your home page, and then you'll have the product page. You don't want to go crazy with pages. You want to keep everything simple. Remember, the goal is to remove as much friction in the buying process and get the customer from point A to point B without allowing them to mess around and waste too much time on your site and eventually click off. Now, navigation, here's where we can set up the menus. So the main menu, which is going to be at the top of the website, we can have home, we can have the contact page, we can have the product page. So if I go to products, I can find this product right here, and we'll just call this custom LED lamp. And we could also have the track your order page if you wanted. So I'm just gonna put this one right up top. Followed by the home page, followed by the contact page. And you can also add these in the footer as well, which is gonna be at the bottom of the website. You don't have to. For now, I'm gonna leave it as search, and that's pretty much that. And then if you go to preferences, you can add titles and meta descriptions, so you can name how your website will look up. If you can add the text so that your website will show up that way when people find it on a Google search and stuff like that. We'll just call this Moonlit Golden Custom LED Lamps, and then you can write a clever 1 or 2 lines here for description, which also helps you get a better ranking on Google and other search engines. Here you can also add a Google Analytics account. We don't need to do that for now. You can set up your Facebook pixel really quickly and easily through here as well. We don't have to do that for now. And then once you pick a plan, you can disable your passwords so that people can actually activate your online store from their regular internet browser. Besides that, that's pretty much everything that we need to know about that. And if we go back to the online store and hit customize, here we can start building out the home page and making sure everything looks good. As you can see, if I go to the contact page on here, it's really straightforward. It has the form, and then it has, if you have any questions or concerns about your order, please reach out via email. Left my email there, and then told them some expectation about when they can receive a response. And then over here on the product page, this is how it's looking so far. It still has some customization to do. We still have to decide on the key photos that we want to use, but the price point is in there. It's automatically changing to Canadian currency because that's a setting in the theme, which I can later turn that off if I want. And then down here, you can see the photos and the copy that I've already added. Again, it's gonna need some fine tuning and adjusting for sure to come out the way that I envision it, but not a bad start. Now this site looks very basic, very bare bones. Obviously nothing's really on here, but I wanna tell you that you've already reached the hardest part in the store setup and design if you got to this point. You have some information together, you have the pictures, you have the copywriting for the most part down. From now on, all you need to do is just refine, edit, add images, make your site look pretty. And this is kind of the fun part too. People love playing around and spending a lot of time. Again, my thing is I want to move quickly, I want to move efficiently. I don't want to waste a lot of time because I have tons of products to test and I can later come back, refine and optimize. But feel free to spend as long as you want. If you really enjoy this process too, of course, it's fun for you, then spend as many hours as you want to go through and edit all this. Everything on the side is really easy to use. So all of these are little sections. As you can see, this is the main image banner section. You can add different images, you can choose the size of it, you can change all of the text. It's literally the most easy website builder to use of all of them that I've tried, like WordPress, Wix, Commerce HQ, WooCommerce. That's why I love Shopify so much, because of the themes and because of how easy it is to use. And you can easily go ahead and delete columns too. So let's say I didn't like this and I thought this was too much. I can just go over to the side here, click on it, and then click remove section, and it's automatically going to be gone. Again, we don't have a video right now, so I'm going to go ahead and remove this section. I don't really like this multimedia collage. I want to keep things really simple and easy so we can move towards the testing as soon as possible. I want my featured product on there. I want to talk a little bit about the brand. I want a nice big image, and that's pretty much about it. And then I want to edit the footer, and then once that's all done, it's going to look pretty solid. And then once I nail down the product page, which is the most important, contact page is pretty much already done. So what I'm going to do now, because you don't really need to see this entire process, is I'm going to work on it a bit. I also don't want to kill my entire camera battery, and I want to get this video cranked out today. So what I'm probably going to do is leave this on a bit of a time lapse, do a bit of work, and then I'm going to come back when the site's fully finished and complete. I'm going to explain to you guys everything that I did, any little tweaks that I made and why I did so, kind of my thought process behind how the store was made. But nonetheless, we've reached the hardest part of store setup. So congratulations, especially if you're following along. Now it's time to have fun, play with this a little bit, customize it to our liking, and make it look cool. All right guys, so I'm back and the store is officially complete, or at least as good as it's gonna get for now. But first, a couple things I wanted to show you guys. TikTok and Facebook have their own sales channels right here. So this makes it super easy to go ahead and install the pixel and set up with your ads manager. We'll cover a little bit more about that in the next module pertaining to the advertisements themselves. But just to show you guys right now how easy it is, all you have to do is go ahead and click setup now, and it'll walk you through the process of connecting your TikTok ads manager, the pixel, and everything with your Shopify store. Same thing goes for Facebook. They've actually just started using this feature as of May 28th, 2022. Normally you'd have to do everything through Facebook itself. There is some still specific event parameters and things that you may need to set up inside Facebook itself. But for the most part, the two sales channels are super easy to use. Pretty much one click through everything, and they're set up and they're found right here. Now, as far as apps goes, I've just went ahead and installed Tracking More, which I was talking a little bit about earlier, and also Aftership and those types of apps that can help you with finding your tracking numbers and, you know, taking the customer to the right information of where their parcel is currently located. Then next I have Luke's product reviews and photos. I usually use Looks or A reviews. They're both pretty solid, and they give, you know, a nice clean feel to the reviews and really builds trust and really builds trust with your consumers. I think reviews are probably the most important thing. That's why it's literally like the only app that I have on here. Obviously, like over time, as the store is doing well, I'd go in and add more apps. Another big app is Vitals, where you can do bundles and cross sells, upsells. You can do scarcity tactics. You can do sticky add to cart. You can do countdown timers, all those sort of things. So again, this course is gonna be perfect for, you know, getting started with dropshipping and everything. Obviously, there's gonna be more advanced scaling techniques and apps that you would get kind of later on down your journey. But for now, this is literally everything you need to go for a good test. So now if we're looking at the actual storefront itself, I'm just gonna go ahead and hit customize here. And one thing you wanna keep in mind is that you always wanna optimize your store as best as possible for mobile, especially when selling products like this. What I find is about 90% of your customers are actually accessing it from a mobile phone, particularly an iPhone, but of course there's Android and stuff like that as well. So here's what the homepage is looking like. It's very, very simple, you know, nothing too crazy. Obviously, I wanted to get this done pretty quickly to show you guys so I didn't put too much time into every little decision. But as you can see, it's just a main image banner there, a couple little pieces of text or copywriting, and then there's the main images, the actual product itself, so people can purchase straight off the homepage. Just shedding light on our 100% satisfaction 30-day money-back guarantee again there. And then all the quick links at the bottom, including all of our legal pages and stuff like that. And then sign up and save for our mailing list, which is gonna be huge to start collecting emails from anybody who lands on the site. Besides that, we already went over the other pages, and now I'm just gonna go over to the product page. And on the product page itself, again, just a couple pages, just a couple pictures, the title, the reviews, a huge add to cart button here, really encouraging people to go ahead and click it, obviously. Similar copywriting to what we had before, but with a couple more images mixed in, a couple more images about the sizing and the parameters of the lamp there, and then again, the guarantee at the bottom, and then here's how the reviews are looking laid out with the Luke's app installed. So not too bad for the reviews there. Overall, the site's not bad and it's worth it for a test. It can definitely get sales, but there are a lot of things that we want to do in the future to improve. I can just name off a few so you're aware of them right now. At the top, we want to have more lifestyle-y photos as well. As you can see, these are kind of studio photos of just the product itself. We want to have them actually, you know, shown next to somebody's bed, shown with somebody holding it and smiling, and various things like that. Additionally, 19 reviews is a little bit on the low end. I usually like to go for anything 40, 50, 60 plus. But I wasn't about to bang out that many right now. I just wanted to make that point to you guys. Besides that, I did touch on this earlier, but some sort of GIFs or short videos would be helpful in the actual landing page itself. Obviously, refining the product copy could be good if I spent more time on it and deciding what words to bold and what not to bring attention to certain things. I probably could have chosen a better selection of images, but I just wanted to get it out there in kind of the template form to show you guys. But yeah, there's lots of improvements that could be made overall, but still, nonetheless, this site is ready for a launch. It's ready for a test to see if we can get any initial results. And then if we do start getting results, we go back and we start optimizing all these things. We start getting new apps, stuff like that. And that's just the way that I like to do things. It keeps things as simple, smooth, and efficient as possible and ensures that you don't waste too much time on something before you've validated that it has proof of concept and can potentially make you money. So with that being said, it's time for my bread and butter. It's time for advertising and marketing. We're gonna be going over Facebook ads, TikTok ads, and other strategies. So don't go anywhere and let's hop into module 3. All right guys, so on to module 3. We're gonna be talking about TikTok ads, Facebook ads, paid advertising in general. I'm gonna be revealing all the secrets and the stuff the gurus don't want you to know, the stuff that really isn't out there online for free. So listen up, take this all in, take notes, do what you gotta do, but this is gonna be exceptionally valuable. So starting off with the fundamentals, we first got to understand how the algorithm works. And it's roughly the same for Facebook and TikTok. But basically what happens on these platforms is they have a little snippet of code called a pixel, both a TikTok pixel and a Facebook pixel. So we'll start with Facebook ads, and I'll just use that as an example because they're both roughly the same. Basically what happens with this pixel is it gets installed on your website, okay? Really easy ways to do this, like adding it to the code inside of your Shopify store, or one-click connecting it through the sales channel, or setting up the events through the ads manager itself. We'll talk a little bit about that when I get to the platform. But once this pixel is installed on your website, what it's gonna do is it's gonna gather data from every single person who goes onto your website. And with iOS 14, you've probably heard of the new tracking parameters and things that make it more difficult to capture information because consumers have to opt in to being tracked. That is true, but it's only true to an extent because it only gives them control over certain things. You're still nonetheless gathering a ton of data on every single consumer. Now, when I say data, I'm talking about everything from their age to where they live to even previous search history and stuff they've looked at before online, to if they're an intent purchaser, meaning if they frequently add things to their cart, check out, and make purchases online. all of these things are considered data. And what this does is it all gets compiled inside of Facebook's algorithm. And Facebook's algorithm, honestly, no one really understands it in depth and how it works because it's machine learning and it's constantly evolving. But essentially what it does is it categorizes customers. So every single person like me and like you who go online, who shop online, who have social media accounts set up, are constantly being gathered data upon. And so that's the reason why data is so valuable for these big tech companies, because then they can make more money from advertisers and charge an increased price because they know exactly who to spit out ads to. Okay, so having more data for Facebook allows them to then hyper target customers and make advertisers sales, which is good for the advertiser and good for the platform. So the more data equals better. But now you're probably wondering why everyone's switching to TikTok, even though Facebook has been around for so much longer. The ad platform is so much more nailed down, the algorithms are so much more concrete, and they have so much more data. But that's because Facebook has so much data, so they're able to pinpoint customers a lot better than TikTok. What they can then do is they can charge an increased price. So everybody was freaking out because Facebook's CPMs, or cost per mil, cost per 1,000 impressions, were raising like crazy, and advertisers were spending so much money and they couldn't compete with large companies who were dishing out millions upon millions of dollars every single day. Whereas TikTok, for the most part, is completely new and there aren't all these massive companies on it advertising yet. So it's kind of like early days Facebook in a sense, where the algorithms are still good. They still have billions of people on their platform gathering data from, except the CPMs are generally a lot cheaper, so you're paying a lot less for the traffic. Now Facebook is still going to convert higher, and it has time and time again because of more and more data. But chances are you're going to be paying more to reach the same number of people, though those people might be better fitted to buy your product. So those are kind of the trade-offs when it comes to Facebook and TikTok in general, and that's how the algorithm works in a nutshell. The specifics of it, it's just too much to go in detail, and you don't need to know really anything beyond that. Now, the next point about advertising on both of these platforms is that your creatives and your offer are king. That's what's going to set you apart from your competitors in the space, from the people selling the same products, from other people in the same niche. That's going to be the thing that makes all the difference. People like to talk about media buying strategies and sell you on their Facebook ads programs and think that there's some, magical formula that you're going to plug and play and instantly make way more money than everyone else. If that was true, there would be one system and everybody would be using it to their advantage. But that's simply not true. That's why you're going to get, hundreds of advanced media buyers out there online selling you a program, and each one is going to be completely different. So really, you have to build your own strategy and formula from experience that you've had. Obviously, depending on the niche, depending on the product, there's just way too many factors to have one perfect plug and play strategy. But for the most part, if you follow one strategy that is proven to work, that has worked for you before, that has worked for somebody you should be good right out of the gate. And that's exactly what I'm going to show you guys when I hop into the TikTok Ads Manager and Facebook Ads Manager. I'm going to show you exactly how to launch your campaigns from scratch, and then we'll talk a little bit about scaling as well. All right, now, because we talked about creatives and offer being the most important, we have to talk about creating your video ads and building a system for testing. Especially on TikTok, you need to have so many creatives constantly being made. The creative life cycle, or the point in which the creative kind of dies out and doesn't perform as well as it did originally, is much shorter on TikTok in general than Facebook, which is why content is so important. And even the biggest brands such as Apple or Microsoft, you'll never really see them running the exact same ad for years upon years because they get what's called ad fatigue. It's when millions of people have already seen the ad and they're kind of done with it, they're not really intrigued by it anymore. So you need to hit them with new, fresh angles and creatives that are going to catch their attention. And the same can be said for any company of any size. So we need to talk about a few different ways that you can go ahead and build out your ad creatives. You can use a popular editing software. Adobe Premiere is kind of the go-to. There's like Final Cut Pro and stuff like that. I'm not really an editor myself. I've never been great at it. So what I personally do is I like to use cheaper, faster, easier, more efficient alternatives. And one that I frequently use is called InVideo. So if I pull up InVideo here, they've done an excellent job of providing over 5,000 templates that make it so easy for you to go ahead and start making ads. So if we're talking about TikTok ads specifically, or maybe Instagram story ads, or whatever type of ad you want to run, you can click on which aspect ratio you want. So for this, we'll go for the 9:16, which is the TikTok, Instagram stories, all that kind of stuff. It can be used on feeds as well, I believe. So if we click on this, it's just gonna load up the InVideo software, which is all cloud-based and online, and it's super easy to use. Additionally, if you see at the bottom here, they have a YouTube video editor, a YouTube intro maker, Facebook video ads maker, they have posters, they have Instagram video editors, like literally any piece of content that you need for promotion or organic creation, they got 24/7 support, which is really, really good if you're on a subscription with them, and just tons of stuff. As you can see in the categories here, they have intros, bite-sized ads, testimonials if you have customer reviews for your product. They have blogs and different things like that. They have tons of tutorial videos making it really, really easy to edit your own content. So I used them for quite a long time when I was making video ads myself. And if you guys are interested, I'll have them linked down below. I reached out to them and they kindly offered to sponsor this video. So thank you so much, InVideo. Really love your guys' service and hope some of you guys out there can find it just as valuable as I do. So as you can see here, all the different pre-made templates, which make it really easy to plug and play your video into any of them. And they're all optimized for TikTok, Facebook, everything like that. So yeah, moving along here, InVideo is a great option. Again, they'll be linked down below. Now you also have ad agencies such as Bands Off Ads, Viral Ecom Ads, those types of things. And these guys are really easy to work with as well. I'll have them linked down below in the description if you are interested. I usually use these guys for testing products if I don't have time to go and create my own video ads to order the videos or anything like that. I usually don't use them too much in terms of scaling, but once you sign up and log into your account, here you can see some of the recent orders that I've made. If you go over to video ads, they'll show you all the different services they have. So a single video ad, a split testing package, which is the one that I recommend because you get 3 different variations, you get 3 thumbnails, you even get ad copies and everything. So it's all plug and play, ready to go to launch into your Facebook ad campaigns. Now they also have specific ads for TikTok, which are gonna be a little bit different, a little bit more user-generated content focused, a little bit more native to the platform, which I also recommend picking up if you're advertising on TikTok. They also have thumbnail packages and bulk deals and stuff like that. So another great service that I always use. There are other agencies out there that do the exact same thing. So if you find any on your own or you want to order them from a freelancer on Fiverr, Upwork, or something like that, that's also a good alternative. And then lastly, we have UGC content creation and influencer work, which kind of go hand in hand. And this stuff has been exploding on TikTok lately specifically and doing insanely well. So one thing you can do for UGC content creation, which basically stands for user-generated content, is you can order them on ad agencies which now provide that service, such as Bands Off Ads, which is really nice. But another thing you can do is you can find creators yourself who are best suited for the product. And a way to do this is by simply scrolling on Instagram, your Explore feed, even start in your own network with your friends and family. If you're selling, let's say, a female product for, middle-aged women, maybe I would think of using my mom. So I'd call up my mom and be like, hey, do you think you could film a short video unboxing this product? Do you think you'd film a short video for me, 15 seconds of how much you love using this product? And see, she would say sure, and I'd pay her a little bit of money and I would get a video from her. And I'd get a video from as many people as possible and I'd have so much content to test. Now with this, you want to send them your product so they can actually film the video for you, and you can put it into so many different forms like mashups with every single person, product reviews, testimonials, unboxings, so many different styles of UGC content that works really well on the platform. We also have influencer work. So this is where you pay an influencer or you get them onboarded into your affiliate program, which I'll talk a little bit more in the alternative advertising method module 5 of this video. So stay tuned for that because there's going to be some crazy stuff in that module on all of this. But in general, for influencer work, when you send out a product, you pay an influencer, you're paying for that piece of content more than anything. Yes, if you can get them to post on their organic accounts and you can do promotion that way and make money, that's really good. But what you're getting is an awesome piece of content that you can repurpose and use in ads. This is why big brands pay for people like Steph Curry and LeBron James to be in their video and TV commercials, because they know the amount of trust and credibility that that comes with, and anyone who's seen them before is going to feel more comfortable buying that product. So that way, if you're working with an influencer or a big celebrity, you can just get a better version, a higher quality version of UGC content, especially if that person has a lot of pull. If they're just a regular creator, that's fine too, because chances are they're really good at content creation and they'll do a great job. So influencer work and UGC content creation go hand in hand, and they're kind of taking over right now, especially with TikTok. So I'd really recommend diving into those, as well as the other options when getting started, like the ad agencies and making your own ads and editing them through InVideo or another software like Adobe Premiere. Now on to TikTok ads. Let's talk a little bit about TikTok ads specifically and why we should be using them right now. So TikTok ads right now, I talked about this a minute ago, is kind of like the early days of Facebook, where it's very new. Tons of big advertisers aren't out there yet. People don't really know what sells the best yet because it takes time. With Facebook, people know what creatives work, different ad copies. With TikTok, we're still figuring that out. And in the past 6 to 8 months, we've really found out that UGC content works very, very well. This is content that's very native to the platform. It's shot on a simple iPhone, and it looks like I literally just made this in my own bedroom, because that's the type of content that goes viral on TikTok. And once I go to the ads manager, I'll give you guys a setup and walkthrough of how it's done, how to read data and make decisions that move the needle, so you know exactly when to scale, cut your campaign, start a new product, all that kind of thing. Also, ad creatives and what to look for. I'll get into that now. So this is a really, really important slide. You should take a picture of this if you can. TikTok ad creatives need to be native to the platform, shot on the iPhone, following trends and using popular sounds. Just like you would if you're trying to go organic from posting on your own account. That's what does very well for ads as well. Now there's types of videos that you can do. Unboxings, how-tos, after buying experience or post-purchase experience, benefit driven, so showcasing the benefits of the product or using the product in action, and then a mashup of real customers and their experience. So maybe you take 5 different videos of each person reviewing the product and you mash it all into one video, and that becomes your ad. Now there's also something to be aware of called Spark ads. This is when you pay an influencer, you pay a creator to send them the product and make the video for you. You can then get them to send you a unique code from their video, which allows you to advertise straight off of their TikTok account. Now this is really valuable if you're working with someone with a lot of credibility, like a huge influencer, a huge celebrity, because you're gonna get all of that social proof and credibility when every time somebody sees that ad on their For You page. So this right here is the key to success, and as TikTok always says when you pull up their ads manager, don't make ads, make TikToks, and that is so true. Now Facebook ads is a little bit different. Let's first start with why we'd want to use Facebook. Well, talked about this a minute ago as well. It's the largest database and has the most advanced algorithms. There's over 2 billion users all around the world, and a large majority of which are actively shopping. So in general, more purchasing power, larger markets. The demographic is a little bit older than TikTok, just on average. That's something to be aware of. But that also means there's more purchasing power. So usually if I'm selling an expensive product, chances are I'll test it on Facebook ads first. If I'm selling a cheaper product, I'll probably test it on TikTok ads first. Now with the ads manager and business manager walkthrough and setup, I'll get to that, as well as the column customization and the pixel setup once we dive into the ads manager. I will show you the walkthrough and the launch strategy. Now with ad creatives, how to get and what to look for, okay? So same exact thing that I was talking about over here. You can make them in video using the pre-made templates. You can make them yourself in Adobe Premiere. The best way, and honestly the easiest way, is probably just using ad agencies when it comes to Facebook in the beginning. That's what I've always done. But UGC content creation has also been working insanely well with Facebook. So if you find something that's working well with TikTok, take it over to Facebook and vice versa, because although the platforms are different, they're very, very similar at the end of the day in terms of what's going to sell. And then of course we'll get into the tweaks and optimizations for scaling once we get over to the ads manager as well. But just to give you guys kind of a briefing before we get there, this is what the ad creatives generally look like. So there's an ad copy, there's a creative, so the actual image component or video component, maybe it's some sort of a testimonial, and then you'll have your call to action. In this example here, this is a client that I worked with in the past on my marketing agency. You can see this button, learn more, that's gonna go ahead and take them to the website. And this is another form of ad here. This is a direct message ad where it says send message, and the lead will show up directly in their Facebook inbox. So a couple different styles of ads you can run. For us, we're gonna be focusing on conversion campaigns, which I'll get to in the ads manager as well, but it'll be laid out the very same. And this is a story ad here. So when you're swiping on Instagram stories, this is what it's gonna look like. A picture, logo, little bit of text, call to action, links, all that kind of stuff. And then when it comes to audiences, this is going to be more prevalent when we talk about scaling, but just to get you guys familiar, there's something called cold traffic. Okay, so cold traffic is when you're reaching somebody for the very first time. Typically you're broad targeting, you're interest targeting them, you're not setting a whole lot of parameters. Then you have warm traffic. Warm traffic is when somebody's already warmed up to your brand to an extent. Maybe they've seen you before, they've taken some kind of action or event either on your website, on your ad, maybe they've even watched your ad at least 50% of the way through. All of these things constitute as an event, and you can then retarget to them. But LLAs is when you then take the group of people that you're retargeting it to, they're called lookalike audiences, and you build similar audiences based on those people. Because Facebook has such a huge database, it can match you up with similar people who have already taken similar actions on your website or on your ads or on your social media pages. Hot traffic would be considered retargeting itself. So this is when you're directly targeting somebody who's already seen something, who's already made a purchase from you, who's already added to the cart. And so these people are very, very close, and chances are they just need to be pushed over the edge. And there's a bunch of different strategies you can employ, such as discounts, such as, building or increasing trust, offering money back guarantees and stuff like that. You got to figure out, for whatever reason, people did not follow through with their purchase, so you need to get them to purchase at all costs, and that's where retargeting comes in. Now, retargeting can also be used for getting somebody to purchase again. If they're happy, they're satisfied with their product, hit them with a new ad for another product, and they're already warmed up to your brand, so they might purchase. Now, broad targeting is kind of what I consider the end game when you're scaling with Facebook, and this is when your pixel becomes so saturated with data from millions of data points that it's able to snipe out customers like nobody else. And this is how the advantage comes in when you have so much data, and why companies buy data, and why sometimes it's hard to beat out those big companies who are just mass advertising and spending millions. That's because they have so much data on their consumers that they just let the algorithm do their thing. They just sit back pumping creatives, and the algorithm knows how to get their customers and acquire them at the cheapest cost possible, which is what they're looking for. So broad targeting is kind of the end game. This stuff is kind of scaling. You want to start off with cold traffic, then test out lookalike audiences, then eventually start retargeting as your audience base grows, and then eventually you want to be running broad targeting campaigns, as well as you're probably still testing other retargeting campaigns, lookalike audiences, things like that. But eventually broad targeting is what's going to make you a lot of money, and that's what I've found with Facebook ads. Just to show you guys an example of how an ad set will look, so a little bit more in depth before we look at the creative itself. Now we're looking at the ad set that holds the creative, and then I'll show you the campaign when we get into the ads manager. The ad set will look something like this. So you'll have your Facebook page connected, an Instagram account connected if you're running Instagram feeds as well. You'll have your ad set up. You can either use an existing post that you already made on Facebook and you're advertising that, or you can create the post directly inside of the ads manager. You'll create the post, and then you'll have the ad embedded inside. I typically keep the placements on auto, the targeting, you choose the gender, the interest, the age, the demographics, the previous search history, all these things, depending upon what product and what niche you're selling, of course. And A/B testing, that's basically when you split test things. You wanna make sure you're only split testing one variable at a time, because if you're testing more, you won't know what made the difference. Let me explain. So let's say you launch this ad, and then you wanna test a new variation. So you go ahead and you change the creative, you change the text, you change the type of ad. Maybe we're not doing a message ad anymore, we're gonna do a lead generation ad and collect emails, or whatever it is, right? If you change all of those three things at once and performance increases, how are you gonna know which thing had the biggest impact and increased your performance? So my recommendation is always only move one thing at a time. So if you wanna launch a new ad set and you wanna change one thing, let's just change the creative. Keep everything else the same, and we can see if performance goes up or down. And you can infinitely split test like this until eventually you reach the highest and most profitable point, and then you know what's working really well for your company, and you can keep cycling into new creatives and trying new things. But it's a never ending. Even the biggest companies in the world are constantly split testing new things. So that's super important. Then we have detailed targeting expansion and audiences, which again, we'll dive into a little bit more when we get into the ad platform now. But that's kind of the brief and the general understanding. If you've taken all of this in, you already know a lot more than the average Joe about advertising in general and how these ad platforms work. So now let's get into my launch strategy and showing you guys exactly how I go about setting up these new campaigns. Okay, so starting with TikTok, here I have tiktok.com/business. This is the ads manager platform. And as you can see right here, like I was talking about, don't make ads, make TikTok videos. They literally give you the secret sauce. But anyways, if I go ahead and click start now, I'm gonna be taken over to this page, and I'm just gonna click on one of my recent ads managers here. And under here where it says campaign, this is where you're gonna access the kind of campaign view and dashboard that looks very similar to Facebook. So here you have the campaign view where you have the campaigns that you set up. Within each campaign, you're gonna have the ad groups. And then within each ad group, you're gonna have the actual ads. So I'm not currently running anything on this manager right now. I have some old stuff and some old tests going on here. But I'm going to show you exactly how I go ahead and create out a launch campaign that looks just like this. So I go ahead and click the red button there called create, and it's going to take me to this page. Now what you want to do is you want to optimize for conversions. That's going to be purchases, and that's obviously what we are going for. So I like to keep everything named. I'm not super nitpicky with it, but I'm just going to call this cold test lamp 1. No special ad categories. And I'm gonna go ahead and turn campaign budget, or CBO, on. So CBO has been working very well on TikTok for me lately. It wasn't initially at first, but now I'm starting to see that it's working quite a lot better. And basically what CBO does is it distributes your ad spend budget across different ad groups depending on what the algorithm thinks it's going to spend the best on, as opposed to setting a certain amount that it has to spend on each ad group. So I usually like to start around $100 a day. The budget can vary. Sometimes I start a lot more, but that's because I've had more experience and I've built up more capital. I know kind of what more of a winning product looks like. But for the most part, $100 is a solid starting point, $100 USD. So then I go ahead and click continue, and then same thing for the ad group. So I usually name this by the interest that I'm targeting. I'm not always targeting interests. That's the thing, especially with TikTok. I find that broad works very well, especially if it's a broad product. I feel that this product is pretty broad, though it might be worth testing different types of couple interests as well, so you can have multiple ad groups. So for this ad group, I'm just going to call it broad. And what we want to do is we want to promote to the website. Then we're going to select the TikTok pixel, and we're going to select the optimization event. So for this one, here we go. We have this pixel, and then we're just going to go complete payment, as that's what we're looking to do. And then with automatic placements, it's going to automatically show your ads across all supported placements. What we want to do here is click on advanced settings and turn off video download, just so people can't go ahead and steal our creatives. Usually like to have user comments on because they help the ads achieve more impressions and conversions and gets that kind of organic engagement going. Now, one thing about automatic placements to be aware of, you're also going to be placed on platforms that aren't TikTok. Now, depending on your product, it can be beneficial, but more often than not, I will actually go down to select placements and turn off Newsfeed, App Series, and Pango, which are just their other applications that they own where they also advertise on. So I'm just going to keep it on TikTok, and I recommend you do the same for most products. And then for location, I usually go United States. And then for location, I usually just do the United States and Canada. For languages, I usually go to English. And then for the gender, for this one, it could be a male or a female buying the product. Unless it's a specific product that's only for a male or female, recommend keeping all this as broad as possible. For age, I usually go 18 to 24 all the way to 55 plus, just because 13 to 17 year olds typically don't have a credit card. Maybe they're not making a whole lot of purchases. Maybe they got to ask their parents first. So you want to make sure the person is at least 18 years old. And then when it comes to audience, here they're going to offer you top performing categories based on your recent campaigns and conversions. Usually you want to go ahead and select this if you are testing interest, because it's going to give you a relatively broad subset of interest. And if you set up your account correctly, they'll give you the right interest to test. But for this case, we're doing a broad test. And then targeting expansion, I've usually been turning it on lately and just enabling it for all its certain criteria that is available. Basically, as it says here, targeting expansion will increase your chance of reaching a broader audience and achieving more conversions. In this case, we're keeping our audience as broad as possible, 121 million to 148 million, which is pretty huge. Now, when it comes to budget and schedule, there's two different things you can do here. I've been liking to go with day parting lately. Okay, so day parting is basically when you select the times of the day when people are actually going to be scrolling on their phone. There's two different strategies you can do. One strategy, you can select morning, lunchtime, after work, and evening. So that would look like somewhere between 7 to 8:30 a.m. And then for lunchtime, it'd be anywhere between like 11:30 to 1:30 p.m. And then for evening, it'd be anywhere from like 6 to 9, and then late at night, like 11 to 12 or 11 to 1 or something like that. But what I've been finding works best as of now is just simply selecting every single day from about 6 a.m. all the way to about 12 or about 1. So this whole block of period is when people, aren't really sleeping. They're kind of awake, actively looking on their phones and stuff like that. And everyone is on TikTok all the time now. So I recommend doing this or even all day. You're pretty much ready to go in terms of the actual ad set itself. So then you're going to want to go ahead and click next, and it's going to go and take you to the page to create your ad. So you're going to have your custom identity. This is an old store that I had, so I'll just leave this for now. It was a bubble tea straw product. Anyways, did pretty well. But yeah, you'd swap this out obviously for the product of your choice. And then when it comes to the ads, you want to go for a single video ad, and you want to go ahead and upload that, which I'm going to do right now. So this ad I briefly made on InVideo. All right, and now the ad is in there, and then you want to come up with some clever text. So I'm just going to say, this lamp reignited the flame in my relationship. Something super simple, something easy like that. You can also add multiple versions of the text, and you can split test between them, and you can try, scarcity tactics or 50% off, or, really breaking down your offer. But for me, what works best is just doing some kind of clever, catchy line that people might actually read and then continue to watch your ad. So that's fine for me right now. And then of course you want to paste the URL of your Shopify store into there. So for example, I would just have this right now because I don't have a domain. And then the call to action would be standard and it would be shop now, obviously if it's a physical product, and you can go ahead and confirm this. And that's pretty much it for this page. I remember before I was talking about Spark ads. You can turn this on here if you are running a Spark ad, which is basically somebody else's TikTok account. They've given you the unique code to advertise. They've advertised for your product, and then you can post it up onto your ads manager. And that's literally it, guys. Keep it super simple. Again, there's no secret sauce, no secret testing strategy or formula. That's pretty much what I use every single time for launch. It's gonna go in review for a bit, and then it's gonna launch once it gets approved. So there we have it, the cold test lamp campaign. Again, you can duplicate and you can add additional ad groups as needed if you want to test between the recommended interests and the broad. That's usually a solid place to start. And so 2 to 4 ad sets if you do want to test more things is pretty solid. Sometimes you can even go with just one broad though. And this is the campaign structure I use almost every time for almost every single physical product. Now, when it comes to scaling this up, I actually like to use horizontal scaling, which basically means all I'm doing is I'm duplicating this. So if this does well, let's say after a day of running, it got, 3-4x ad spend, and I really want to, generate more sales and pump this. Then all I have to do is go over to create a new ad campaign, choose my existing ad campaign. It's gonna go ahead and take me through this exact same process, except everything is already gonna be filled out for me. And then all I have to do is go use ad campaign, use the existing ad campaign. Maybe I wanna change one thing inside of it or something. So then I go in here and make those changes. So that's pretty much it. You just wanna duplicate and scale that way. You can raise the budget as well, so you can try, doubling the budget. You can try scaling it out 5 or 6 times if you're doing exceptionally well. And then you can double the budget on all of those. But there's no hard and fast rule for scaling. Everyone's going to tell you something different. And from my experience, you just have to play around. I like starting with horizontal scaling and then playing around with vertical scaling, which is just increasing the budget. The algorithm's really weird on TikTok. It's not as nailed down on Facebook. So my best recommendation is, if things are going well, if it ain't broken, don't fix it, right? Just duplicate it, just double it, just scale it, just increase the budget and see what works from there. If you're not having success, if profitability is lowering, you're not finding the same success you expected, just go back to what was originally working and start again from square one and keep trying new things. It's literally that simple. If you ever need me to review your ad account or something, you can go ahead and DM me on Instagram. I'm always happy to help out and help make those changes. Now, when it comes to the columns, this is a pretty solid column customization layout to go ahead and actually read the data. So we have status and budget, obviously telling us if the campaign's active or not, the amount that we're spending on it daily, the total cost that we spent, the cost per click, the CPM or cost per mil, so cost per 1,000 impressions, the amount of impressions, the amount of clicks, the CTR, the amount of conversions, the cost per acquisition, and the conversion rate, okay? And then we have results and cost per results and this kind of stuff towards the end here. And then total add to carts, total initiated checkout, cost per initiated checkout, and there should be a cost per add to cart there as well. So I'm gonna get into more reading the data on Facebook because it is very, very similar. But for the most part, these are kind of all the columns that are essential and that you need. But again, I'm gonna break this down even further on how to read the data and optimize moving forward once I dive into the Facebook ads campaign right now as well. All right, so now before I dive into the exact launch strategy for Facebook, which is similar to TikTok, I do want to show you guys a better idea of how to read data. So I have this ad account pulled up with about $9,000 in spend from a product that I was running a little while ago. It was a wallet product. I actually scaled most of it on TikTok, but I wanted to show you guys some of the data and the Facebook campaigns that I ran as well. So first things first, I got to show you guys how to set up your campaigns. So if you go to customize columns, you'll be able to choose, all the different things that you want to look for. So I'm just gonna go ahead and X through all of these. And the first thing, to keep it simple, obviously there's more stuff you wanna look at as you kind of get more advanced in your advertising career. But to keep it simple and to the point, what you wanna look for first is you wanna look at click-through rate, right? So the percentage of people who are actually clicking onto your ad. So I like to go with unique, because if you get one person and they click on it a bunch of times, it'll spam up the number higher than it should be. Unique gives you a better indication because it only tracks one time per person. So for most things, I usually go unique. And then you can also look at outbound clicks, which are outbound clicks go straight to the product page, and click-through rates can go to any sort of link, so maybe your social media page or things like that. But usually it's fine. I usually just go with unique CTR. And that's kind of that first step in the funnel, right? Getting someone to click from the ad to the actual landing page. Then the next thing that you want to do is you want to look at the amount of content views. So these are going to be people who are actually viewing the content on your webpage. So who are landing there and staying on your webpage. We want to look at the unique and we want to look at the cost for this one. The next thing we want to do is we want to look at add to carts, because that's naturally the next stage in the funnel. Again, unique and cost, and then followed by checkouts, unique and cost is obviously the amount it's costing you per each person to go ahead and check out. And then finally, we want to look at purchases. We want to go total, cost per purchase, and then we also want to look at the return on ad spend just to get an idea of how our ads are performing. And for the most part, you can look at other stuff, but this is going to give you a pretty solid indication of how your ads are doing. Starting with these campaigns that I've ran in the past, we have an add to cart test campaign. So remember what I was saying about lookalike audiences? We chose add to cart for this one. Campaign budget optimization scale. I believe this was a broad campaign. I believe this one here was another broad one with different countries and stuff. This is a page view lookalike audience test. This one should be another broad campaign, and this one should be an initial interest campaign. Okay, so if we look at the unique CTR, they're all kind of around the similar point. Usually anything above 2% is pretty solid, but 2.5 plus is what you're shooting for. So all in all, it was pretty close hitting that 2.5 in total across all of these different campaigns. If we go over here to cost per content view, now this is all in Canadian. But I'll give you the figures in USD that I'm usually looking for. As far as cost per content view, I'm usually looking for less than $1. So this checks out either way, even though it's cheaper because it's actually Canadian. Now, cost per add to cart, what we're looking for here is now it sucks that the data is actually not loading. I think this is just because the store was ran and closed down such a long time ago that it didn't actually want to leave the data for us. I'm not too sure why. It must be to do with the new iOS 14 update and things like that. But anyways, what we're looking for when it comes to unique content views is we're looking for at least 10% of those to convert into add to carts. So imagine if this total number here was 100, then we should at least get 10 add to carts, okay? Now imagine if those 10 add to carts converted at least 60% into checkouts initiated. That's what we're looking for, at least 60%. So then the checkout initiate should be 6 here. And then imagine those converted to at least 50%, ideally more in purchases. So we should be at least 3 or more purchases, right? So now that's how we can kind of read the data based on the number of add to carts, the number of checkouts, the number of purchases. Obviously it's a bit different. We don't have access to the data for this. So we're just gonna have to go off the cost per add to cart, the cost per checkout, and then finally the purchases and the cost per purchases. What we notice is not bad of a drop off between the cost per add to cart and the cost per checkout, roughly around the same price, about $2 more, but we're noticing a huge drop off from the cost per purchase. So this is something where we can read this data and go, okay, we need to fix up our funnel and realize why people are dropping off. Maybe the shipping's too expensive. Maybe we're not building enough trust with the consumer through the checkout process. Whatever it is, we can then go in and make those optimizations. So that's why reading data at scale is so important, for the little things like that. And obviously Facebook has mistracked, because I do remember this being a lot more profitable than what it shows here at 1.18. And I actually think this was right around the time when iOS 14 first came to fruition. So the tracking was all over the place with Facebook. It's still not great. And there are third-party softwares out there that you can look into to help you track and get better numbers and more accurate data. But nonetheless, I know I was profitable in this campaign for sure. And it all starts off with the CTR, which is one of the most important things. And then you follow along the funnel. How are people adding to the cart? Is there a huge drop off? Should be around 10%. Then how many of those people are adding to the checkout? Should be around 60%. It shouldn't be too big of a drop off. And then from the checkout to the purchases should be at least 50%, ideally a lot more, right? And you can kind of read that way. And then any type of holes in your funnel where you're not really hitting those numbers, you can figure out why and then make the necessary changes and optimizations. Now, as far as the initial launch campaign goes, why don't I just show you into one of these ad campaigns that I've actually launched now that I'm thinking about it. So if I just click here, you can see what I've done is I've set up multiple ad sets, okay? Now Facebook's a little bit different than TikTok in this way, where you always want to set up multiple ad sets and you want to test different interests. So I've named each ad set by each interest. iPhone, accessories, broad, okay? So here we have the pixel, we have the conversion event, just like TikTok. We have the daily budget, so $20 for this ad set. CBO is great on Facebook too. I do use that a lot, but sometimes ABO is good too, where you're just setting the amount of dollars per ad set. And then down here, this is where I've chose the countries: Australia, Canada, US. Again, age 18 to 65 plus, all genders can use this product. And then I selected one interest, and I make sure my selection was broad with at least 674,793 people. Estimated audience size should actually be higher than that. Typically, but I guess this is on the lower end. There we have that. It's going to give you estimated daily results. I don't really listen to any of this because it's never really accurate, and it really depends on your creative. And then inside of each ad set, we have each ad. So I made 4 creatives with this. I think I actually purchased some from an agency, and then I filmed some outside myself. Now the same thing with this one. This one's called narrowed, so I took the same interest. I guess this interest was performing well at the time, and I must have narrowed it down even further. Also, we have automatic placements on all the time for Facebook. I think that's your best bet as long as your creatives are optimized for the different feed placements. Now I'm trying to figure out here what I did to narrow this down a little bit more than the previous one, but it might actually just be the same duplicated. I'm not sure why I saved it as narrowed. But you can always duplicate ad sets if they're performing well as well. Anyways, down here into wallet, same exact thing. I only changed one variable to split test. The only thing that I changed was the recommended interest. And look at this, we have a huge audience size, 2.7 million to 4.3 million across those 3 countries. Typically, the larger the audience size, the better. Again, give Facebook more reign, give them more free reign to go in and snipe out the right customers for you. And then lastly, we have men's accessories as well. So that's pretty much it for the testing strategy. Again, very, very simple, very straightforward. Give Facebook as much free reign as possible. Their algorithms are insane, and anyone who tries to micromanage it too much won't do as well as if they keep things broad and just test a couple different interests. And then over time, you can start to test lots of different campaigns by building out audiences around lookalikes, around retargeting, stuff like that. And then remember, end game, you want to keep things as broad as possible and run massive, massive campaigns at scale. So I could show you how to go into the audiences tab as well and, build out the different audiences once you are scaling and you want to test out lookalike audiences and stuff like that. But I'm thinking it's not super necessary. I don't need to dive into all this because I just want to get you guys off the ground with a decent launch strategy in this course. And if you do need extra help when it comes to scaling and stuff like that, we can always talk later. And I have made other videos specifically on this topic, but it'd be just way too much for me to break down the entire ad platform. It would take hours in one course video. I want to keep this as simple and as straightforward for you guys so you can get right to the point and start your dropshipping store with the best information available. Now, as you can see, I'll just briefly run it by you because I think it's important. If we go custom audience here, we can choose any of these events. Let's say website, okay? And then we can choose the pixel, of course. We can choose the amount of, we can choose which event, we can choose the retention, so the amount of days, and then we can name this page view recent 30 days, okay? And then we can create that audience. It'd be as simple as that. The audience will populate, and then you can retarget towards anyone who's looked at your page within the past 30 days, and then you can even build a lookalike audience around that by going here and clicking lookalike audience, and it's the same for every single event. Now, I know I just ran that by you. If it's overwhelming, don't worry about it. You'll figure it out as you go. So that's it. I hope you guys have a solid understanding. I know I moved really quick just because this is kind of stuff that I'm doing all the time, so it feels really comfortable to me. But if it's your first time, you feel overwhelmed, don't worry about it at all. Watch this video again, pause it if you need, put it in 0.5x speed for all I care, go slowly because I revealed a lot of information really, really quickly there. And I also have more videos on my channel that go more in depth about the ad platforms themselves and tons more tutorials coming. So don't worry if you're feeling overwhelmed. I'm trying to give you guys as much gold as possible in a short amount of time as possible for this course. This is gonna be a really long course, but I hope you guys are getting some insane value out of it. And if you could for me, go and smash that like button because we got a crazy module coming up next that's gonna completely change the game for you and something that not a lot of people talk about, especially not on YouTube, and information that's just very, very hard to find, especially for free. So thank you guys so much. All I ask in return is you smash that like button and let's get on to the next module. Well guys, congratulations, you've made it to module 4. Now this is going to be arguably the most important module, so make sure you stick around for this one because it's often one that's overlooked and there's little pieces of information here that have taken me years to really figure out. So regardless of where you are in your journey, this is going to be a great module to help you out. I'm going to be going over order fulfillment, supply chain management, automation, cash flow, finances, accounting, increasing your customer experience while also allowing you to work less, taking time off of your hands, helping build a team, getting virtual assistants, making hires, doing interviews, and all that kind of stuff. This will be an effective blueprint that you need to minimize your time while maximizing your efficiency and output, and also increasing your customer experience. So first, let's talk about order fulfillment. And I can't stress this first point enough: over delivering for your customers. This is an absolute must. You should be fulfilling and processing your orders every single day. I've experienced the drawbacks of not doing this firsthand. It's actually caused me to collapse and fold multiple businesses because I didn't have these systems in place. Why you need to be doing this every single day is because of the era that we live in. It's 2022 and people expect their products there snappy. They want an email right after they purchase. They want to see the tracking number, know the product is on the way. They want this whole experience and this journey, and that's what they're getting from other big brands. I mean, look at Amazon. They have same day shipping, next day shipping, all these kind of things. And if we can't even near compete with them, well then how are we going to take any market share, right? Even if it's the tiniest bit, how are we going to capture market share if we're shipping products out that take 30 days to get to our consumers? So now there's a few different methods to fulfill and process our orders every single day and get really fast fulfillment. There's this one method called the CSV bulk order method, or at least that's what I coined it because I had no better term to kind of explain it, but that's literally what it is. If you go to Shopify and you go to the orders tab, I'll actually run you through that right now. If we go to the orders tab on the Shopify, when the orders show up here, there's gonna be a button that allows you to export the list of orders into an Excel file, and it'll send that to your email. What you can do with that is then send that document to your suppliers. They're gonna have all the orders and all the information, the names of the people, all the metadata that they need to go ahead and plug it into their system and start shipping out the products for you. So that's one method of doing it. And a couple helpful apps to download would be Mass Fulfill and PayPal Tracking on Autopilot. They're both apps that you can get on the Shopify App Store, and these apps will save you so much time. So what Mass Fulfill is gonna do is once your supplier returns to you an Excel sheet with the tracking numbers matched to each order number, you can upload that into Mass Fulfill. It's automatically gonna send out emails to all of your customers and mark all of those specific orders that are fulfilled, taking time off of your hands so that you don't have to do each one individually. And PayPal Tracking on Autopilot is the app that's gonna do the same thing by integrating through with your PayPal account. So it's gonna mark all the orders that came through PayPal as fulfilled on their system as well. It's pretty straightforward to set up. Now, for a supplier integration, this is my preferred method, and this is working directly with the supplier. All the suppliers that I personally use a supplier integration. So what that means is you give them staff access to your Shopify, they'll come in and install their own application that automatically pulls all your orders in, and they can fulfill them every single day for you. This is the most hands-off, passive, easy option, and one that I would recommend time and time again, one that I personally use. The key thing here is you need to find a supplier that has the option to work this way. Usually they're ones with bigger factories and that are more established. If you guys do want access to any of my suppliers, remember I'm always here to help you. I'm even giving them out completely free. All you gotta do is go ahead and DM me on Instagram, the keyword supplier, and I'll send you over the list. And lastly, we have third-party fulfillment such as ZenDrop, CJ Dropshipping, etc. They're all basically the same thing. They're kind of an all-in-one dropshipping platform. If I pull up ZenDrop here, you can see they're an exclusive, fully comprehensive fulfillment resource that they thoughtfully built specifically driven for e-commerce sellers. So you sign up for free and you make an account and you connect it to your Shopify store. What's gonna happen is they're gonna help you with everything from finding the supplier, sourcing the product, and taking care of fulfillment every single day for you. Again, it's a really hands-off, passive, easy to use option, but it is a little bit more pricey than working directly with the supplier and their own auto integration. So this is perfect for beginners to go ahead and sign up with an account here and then integrate it in with your Shopify. But again, the previous method is the one that I would always recommend. Now we need to move on and talk about accounting here. So accurate tracking allows you to make intelligent decisions, sell your business in the future, gives you better preparation for tax season, and can also reveal to you opportunities for growth and areas to cut back costs. What I recommend is starting with a basic Excel sheet for daily tracking. There are also other third-party apps to assist you with this, such as Order Metrics, BeProfit, and tons of other similar ones. I'm not gonna get into those because I just like showing you guys what I personally do, but I also wanna give you some of the other options. You can sign up for an accounting software like QuickBooks or Xero, which are relatively inexpensive and allows you to keep all of your financing in one place. Or the last option, which is one that I now do, is hire a bookkeeper, accountant, and a tax specialist. When you get to that point, it's the easiest way to go about things. If you guys do need help or want an introduction to a great accountant or tax specialist, you can always DM me as well. but I'm gonna show you guys the Excel sheet for daily tracking because in the beginning, that's pretty much all you need. And I'll also link it down below completely free for you guys to pick up. All right, so this is literally it. It's very, very simple. I set it up myself. You have the date, and every single day that you're in operation for the business will go right here. You'll have variable expenses such as domains, apps, fees, other expenses like that. You'll have your ad spend for the day, your merchant and conversion fees, your sales, your gross profit margin, your net profit, your total expenses, total revenue, and total profits. And these all have formulas built into them. As you can see at the top here, total expenses is simply a combination of C2, which is ad spend, plus D2, which is merchant fees, plus E2, which is product cost, plus B2, which is variable expenses, to get your total expenses for the day. And so using this sheet, all you really have to do is plug in your ad spend number for the day, plug in your variable expense number for the day. The merchant and conversion fees are already worked out to be an estimate of the payment processing fees plus other fees that you'll experience. On top of that, you just have to put in your product cost, which is going to be depending on your supplier and obviously depending on your product, as well as your sales. And all of this helpful information here is going to auto-populate using the formulas. It's really, really simple to set up for yourself, or you can go ahead and grab mine completely free so you can track your profit every single day. And of course, it'll also give you insight into where you can improve. You can see exactly why you're going negative and how to move forward and make intelligent decisions. Now, accounting leads me into cash flow, which is arguably even more important. You want to maintain a healthy cash flow at all times, not just in dropshipping, but in any business, because otherwise you can go under, and even huge businesses go under this way. So starting out for beginners, let's just talk about credit cards for a second and why they're so important. So credit cards obviously allow you to purchase something and then pay for it later. In dropshipping, that's huge because you're gonna have to wait a couple days for the payments from your payment processors to actually hit your bank account. And this will vary depending on the payment processor, but for the most part, it's a couple days, even with Shopify and Stripe and the big ones like that. PayPal can be instant, but even then, if you want to move the money to your bank account, you usually have to wait a day or two unless you're willing to pay some extra fees to get it there faster. So all in all, if you want to keep a healthy cash flow, credit cards is the way to go. If you're too young, like me, I started with a debit card, that's fine. So there's a couple other ways that you can keep healthy cash flow, such as loans and financing. Now, I wouldn't recommend, going out and getting a loan, and you probably wouldn't be approved for it anyway if you can't even have a credit card. But my point here is you can use this in other ways that you might not have thought. So chances are, if you're working with a big supplier, one of mine, and you've built trust, you built a relationship with them, they'll even allow you to pay them after the product gets to the customer. That way, you're receiving revenue from the customer, you're waiting for the revenue to hit your bank account, you're waiting for the product to be shipped out and arrive to the customer, and then you're paying your supplier. Or maybe you're paying your supplier at the end of every single month, or whatever it is. Try to make sure that you always have as much cash on hand as possible, because that's gonna help you out a ton, especially when you run into unforeseen events that do happen, such as payment processor holds and suspensions. Sometimes when you open up a new Stripe account or a new PayPal account, they're gonna see all this money coming in if you're doing well, and they're all of a sudden gonna start holding it. And then you have to provide information and kind of jump through all these hoops that they want you to do in order to get your account back and start, depositing the money into your actual bank account and stuff like that, which can be a total hassle, can be a total frustration. It can take multiple days for them to get back to you. PayPal is absolutely ridiculous with that, so I don't even want to get started. But basically, bottom line, you want to have measures in place to kind of protect you from this and allow you to still be operating your business even in these unforeseen times. So I'd recommend checking with your supplier, building relationships, see if you can get some financing deal worked out. Again, a credit card is a must. It's huge. If not, you can get away with a debit card, but it does make things a little bit more difficult if you're operating on a very small amount of cash to begin with. And this one kind of goes without saying, calculate your daily expenditures ahead of time and ensure you have enough. Keep good accounting, look in your Excel sheet daily, update the numbers daily, keep track of your bank account balance daily. Just do your due diligence with all these numbers and make sure you have enough money to pay, make sure you have enough money to scale when you are profitable and you're ready to increase your ad spend and all these things. That's gonna be really, really important. Now, another thing that goes into this is refunds, returns, chargebacks. Estimate a number somewhere between 1 to 5% of all revenue that you have to have set aside and ready to be refunded, returned, charged back, any of these instances. Now, obviously, you want to make your customer experience as good as possible. You want to make sure your product quality and everything that we talked about before is up to par. But even then, you'll still run into chargebacks and still run into these unforeseen events. So make sure that you are prepared for them. And we'll talk a little bit more about chargebacks and refunds at the end here. But on to the next part, we have customer support. So this is what I like to call the difference between a short-term success and a long-term brand. And it all comes down to the way that you treat the customer. Now, answering each customer yourself, especially when you're scaling, can be a total headache, can be a time and energy waste, and it can not allow you to make those key decisions that are gonna drive your business forward. So when you get to a point where you simply can't handle the emails anymore, you're tired of doing 20, 30, an hour's worth of work a day simply responding to all your customers, you want to then look at a ticket management software such as Freshdesk or Zendesk that can take care of that for you. Or you want to hire someone, which is my preferred method. You can hire someone as a virtual assistant to go through and answer all your emails and keep up to date with all of your customers' requests. You can set up custom emails for them in a G Suite, or you can make an alias for them through Shopify as well. I want to talk to you guys a little bit about how I go about doing this. And it's very, very simple. I go on a platform called Upwork. Now, Upwork is a freelance marketplace where you can find anyone with any skill set and go ahead and subcontract them into your business or a specific position you have available for them. So all you have to do this is go ahead, make an account, and then click post a job. And don't worry, people are on here all the time looking for work. I've never had less than 10 applicants for any job I've posted, and I've even posted some really weird and kind of niche positions. What you want to do here is fill out your job post. So we're looking for short-term or part-time work, unless your business is absolutely massive and you do need somebody, working 30, 40 hours a week. But then we go ahead and hit continue, add your billing method, and then you just go ahead and draft up a short description of what you're looking for, and then you can start reviewing applicants. I'll show you an example of a job posting I created over a year ago when I was looking for people who could build Shopify stores for clients. I ended up finding a couple people through this, training them up to my liking, and then integrating them into my company. So it was literally that simple. I came on here, said my company builds Shopify stores for clients. We have a template and formula that we follow to easily create new stores within minutes. If you apply for this position, we'll train you and show you exactly how to build these stores out on Shopify with ease. If you have any knowledge in copywriting, marketing, e-commerce, Shopify, web development, design, and are genuinely interested in this type of work, that is a huge bonus. More than 6 months, less than 30 hours a week, $7 to $35 hourly, and we're looking for someone of minimum intermediate skill and experience. We can also add different skills and expertise down here, and as you can see, we had 18 people apply for this job position, in which I interviewed all of them, and I brought a couple people on, trained them up, and are still working with us to this day. So Upwork's a very, very good platform for this, and not just for virtual assistants who can handle emails, but for any task that you need done in your business. A couple other reasons why a customer service agent is probably the first hire you're gonna make, and why it's super important, is because a CS agent can take an angry customer who's about to charge back into a positive review if you've trained them up properly. Most employees will have a decent idea of what you're looking for. You want to instill over-delivering into them. Make sure that they know how to over-deliver for the customer. Make sure that they speak your desired language, that they have a solid set of emotional intelligence and skills relating to human communication. And this is fun. This is where you get to hone your skills as a CEO in developing and building out teams around you to help save you time. So now let's talk about some more tips about hiring through Upwork. So you want to chat ideally off the platform because it is difficult to work with them solely through Upwork. So hopefully you can schedule a call. I always send them a meeting to my Calendly, and I get on an interview call with them there. And from there, I'll just integrate them into my company and chat separately with them on WhatsApp or text message and things like that. So we're not constantly working off of the platform. Upwork doesn't really like this, so be careful with it though. Some key skills that you want to look for, of course, is coachability, because anyone can be good at being a customer service agent, but you want to make sure that they are open-minded, they're willing to accept what you have to teach to them, and they can learn as they go. Of course, language is huge. They have to speak the desired language in which your clients and your business operates in, and then relevant knowledge and experience. So that's a huge bonus. If they've already done work like this before, it's just gonna be so much easier to integrate them in, and they might even teach you something that you didn't know as well. And then, of course, the interviewing process comes. If you have a bunch of applicants, you wanna make sure you find the right one. For this, keep it informal but firm. Set your expectations right off the bat, and also ask them about their expectations and aspirations coming into this position. Ask them a little bit about their daily life and background, see what their kind of life and family obligations are like, if they're going to be able to meet the required amount of time and the necessary work that you have for them. Also check out their work experience, examples of projects they've done in the past. Also ask them if they're interested in doing a trial period or a training period, and see if they're willing to work on those terms first. That way you can test, 1 or 2 people out for a bit, see if they're good, see if they're not, and move forward from that. Or you can also have them in a training period first where you're getting them up to speed before you're paying them, full-blown salary and eating away from the company. More often than not, if people see long-term potential with you, they'll be more than happy to do this. Now, during the training, you want to give them the essential information that they need. You want to put them on a trial period and have them put that information in your trainings into practice, and then observe the performance and provide them feedback. You want to teach them about your business, how you guys operate, really have them understand the entire operation, not just from their perspective, but from your perspective and from other people who are also in your organization. Additionally, you want to provide them with templates and scripts and all the information they need to get out there and start working for you right away. Review their work for a week or so, check in periodically, weekly, communicate via Slack or WhatsApp or however your preferred communication method is. And then if they are underperforming, give them a written warning, give them constructive criticism, specific feedback. And if they still aren't improving, then you will have to have a call with them and potentially fire them and move on to your next employee to train. Now, I'm not gonna go super into specific detail with any of this stuff because this course isn't really designed for somebody who's at the 7-figure moving, building a massive organization. This is more for people beginning with dropshipping, or also if you've had some experience with dropshipping, but now you're looking to build out a team and save you some time. So obviously, if you're gonna do all this stuff, make sure you do more research. We can also chat about it. Now, lastly, talking a little bit about chargebacks and PayPal claims, some key points here. You want to own up to any mistakes on your end. So if it's genuinely your fault, own up to the mistake, provide the refund, and you should have accounted for that already. There's payment processor refunds and now bear in mind, you will also get hit with a fee from your payment processor because they don't like chargebacks either, and it's not good for their business as well. Now, a proper response to a chargeback, if you are fighting it and you are in the right, you should have templates set up, you should have VAs working for you unless you're doing it yourself, you should have evidence and tracking information, and you need to specifically address the reason for the chargeback. This one's super, super important. So if you're fighting a chargeback and your explanation is, so-and-so claimed they didn't receive their product, but they actually received their product yesterday, so this is complete bullshit, this shouldn't be charged back, give me my money. That's not a really great response, right? And you guys probably already understand that. If the reason for the chargeback was shipping time was too long, but it actually wasn't too long, you need to explicitly state that the shipping time was exactly as described. As you can see by the screenshot here, I've uploaded exactly when the product left our facility with the exact date and when it arrived at the consumer's house. And then I've also uploaded a screenshot of exactly what the consumer was told via email, as well as on our product page and description. That way, the person manually reviewing the chargeback on the other end of the payment processor can actually see, okay, this guy's right. He provided all this information. He shows the product arrived at the consumer's house at the desired date, and the consumer is lying and trying to falsely charge back. That explanation is much more detailed and it's much more specific to the reason for the chargeback. That's super, super important if you want to win chargebacks. Now, there also are protection agencies such as Chargebacks 911 that you can work with and partner with, and they'll take, a small revenue cut and work alongside you to prevent as many chargebacks as possible. That's a really good option, but in the beginning, I recommend just going with yourself, building out the templates, eventually hiring a VA, and providing as much evidence as possible. So guys, that's pretty much it for this module. Don't go anywhere because we're about to hop into the alternative advertising module method where I'm going to show you a bunch of different ways to generate traffic and sales for your dropshipping business. Now, I know this module was a bit brief and a bit quick. That's because I didn't want to get super into detail with it because a lot of this stuff comes later and they're good problems to have because it means you have a very successful business up and running. But I wanted you to have this base level kind of foundation of knowledge so that you can go out and not stress about this kind of stuff too much. So it's really important that you refer back to this, keep aware of these things, and you can always research those individual topics more as you need. Welcome to Module 5. This is the alternative advertising method. So what do I mean by that? I mean ways to drive traffic and acquire new clients that don't involve the previous methods that I talked about with strictly running paid ads on Facebook and TikTok. We'll be talking about organic, which has been absolutely blowing up. We'll be talking about influencer marketing, and I'll be showing you guys my exact strategy and blueprint for all of this stuff. Now, this is everything that I do. There are other ways out there, and I will briefly touch on them at the end to advertise and bring in more clients, but these are the exact blueprints and strategies that I personally follow, along with the Facebook and TikTok ad strategy that I walked you through back in Module 3. Gear up because there's some super untapped, valuable information here that is very, very hard to find out there online for free. All right, so kicking it off with influencer marketing. I'm gonna be talking specifically about Instagram and TikTok influencers. So first of all, what you need to know is these are people who hold influence over a large amount of people, thus the name influencer. You can find them in your niche or in any niche. There's literally millions of them out there. What you're gonna be doing is leveraging the influencer by borrowing their influence and using it to motivate their audience to buy your product. Now, this is great for a long-term brand. It's also good in the short run, and you can make a lot of money doing it with a really hot product. But more often than not, there's a lot of unseen ROI. You get credibility, social proof. You can actually make ads and other types of content by using the content that you gather from influencers, and so much more. Now, it can either be inexpensive and effective if done right, but it can also be very expensive and very ineffective if done wrong. So I'm gonna show you guys how to do it the right way and make sure that you're not just throwing away a lot of money into the hands of these influencers and celebrities. Now first, the pros to this method is the content is reusable, like I talked about, so you can repurpose it into ads, which tend to perform very well. We talked a little bit about UGC content and why that does so well, and what better UGC content to create than actually having somebody with a name or a brand presence behind them using your product. Additionally, you'll gain massive social proof, especially if you work with huge celebrities that are a household name. That's why you see huge companies casting commercials with people like Steph Curry and LeBron James. Additionally, you get to use this on your website as case studies, testimonials. There's really infinite ways that you could spin it. On top of that, it's a pretty low financial barrier for entry. I mean, unless you are working with Steph Curry and LeBron James, but don't worry, even I'm not close to being there yet. So for the most part, it's pretty low cost relative to paid ads and how much that'll cost you, especially when scaling. But the cons are it's difficult to measure the ROI or your return on the investment, especially when you're working with multiple influencers at once. The tracking can get quite messy and confusing, especially when you throw in paid ads and other sales channels. Things really start to get all over the place. Now, this can actually hurt your brand as well if done wrong. If you're working with a bunch of meme pages or people who aren't really credible, maybe you're working with an influencer that is really hated or is really controversial in a certain space and you decided to work with them, it can actually have the adverse effect and hurt your brand image. Additionally, it's pretty difficult to execute and to actually get influencers to promote your product, and it can sometimes take time. It's also more difficult to scale if you're just using influencers because it's not as predictable as a platform like Facebook ads or TikTok ads, and each influencer is going to bring on its own set of unique challenges. Now, understanding a process and replicating it is the most important part for your success here. So I'm going to teach you exactly how to find, contact, and partner up with these influencers and measure your results over these next couple slides. But first, we have to understand the goal of the traffic. So when you're working with an influencer or a page, you want to direct traffic towards your IG page first or social media. From there, you'll have your website or your landing page linked to your product, linked into your bio. And that way, when you run a promotion, you can have them explicitly state, go check out, so-and-so's Instagram page. The link will be in their bio if you're interested in making a purchase. And you'll also be able to start building relationships with your followers on your Instagram page and boosting up your social proof and credibility that way as well. Now, what you want to do is you want to make sure your Instagram page is solid. Have a minimum of 9 posts. Benefits, pictures, information, etc. A little bit of randomness sprinkled in is nice too. You want to have the link in your bio and take inspiration from other brands that look very professional. Regular stories on Instagram specifically are a great way to nurture existing followers, especially if you're running lots of promotions and you have tons of new traffic coming into your Instagram daily. You want to be sure that you're nurturing them and showing them that you're active on Instagram as well. As far as the profile setup goes, you want to set up as a business profile, which will give you access to enhanced analytics, and you want to be posting something daily, ideally multiple stories and a feed post or 2. Start building up some followers. Do not buy followers. The audience quality will be very, very poor, and it'll actually tank your engagement on the app, which is not good. Do not buy followers. The audience quality will be very poor, and it'll actually tank your organic reach and engagement over time. You want to follow your competitors and then their followers. That's a great way to start because you already know people are interested in your niche and what you have for sale. Now, just to show you guys an example of what a good Instagram looks like, I'm gonna show you my own personal Instagram because this is optimized for business. So what I do is I try to drive traffic towards my YouTube, my education company, and all the things that I talk about in my personal brand, and I use Instagram as a hub. As you can see, I always have daily stories going in which I categorize into the different lifestyle, results, business, in which I categorize into my different highlights that people can constantly scroll through. Additionally, I have feed posts breaking down my entrepreneurial story, my successes, a little bit of personal stuff, and each one of these I try to have a really important caption. Some of them I have straight up value posts like this one where I'm giving away, solid information about dropshipping and e-commerce. But nonetheless, when people come onto my page, they can see I have tons of content. They can see I'm actively posting and that I mean business. Now moving back to the slides here, we'll talk about finding and researching influencers and determining the quality of their audience. So first of all, just know, regardless of your niche, there's likely infinite influencers out there that you can reach out to. Okay, so I don't want to hear anybody say, there's not enough influencers in my niche, I don't know where to find them. So I'm going to show you right now that they exist in pretty much every single niche. There's two different types of influencers. However, some niches might be stacked with more of one type and some niches might be stacked with more of another type. The first of the two types is called page influencers. These are a lot cheaper, but they typically have less trust with their audience. They typically have tons of reposts of content that isn't natively theirs, and they're curated from other profiles to look as if they're their own brand. Now, they do work with a lot of brands to make money, so saturation is something that you have to keep in mind. Their audience is constantly being hit with ads, and they might not be as likely to trust them or make a purchase from them. However, they are faster and a lot easier to work with. You typically don't ship them the product because an actual person isn't creating content on the account. They're more just reposting other types of content and quotes and things like that. And then we have individuals. So this would be someone like me or even you. So this would be typically more expensive to reach the same number of people. However, you'd get custom content, you'd build more trust, you'd have better engagement because chances are people are going to engage with my posts more overall on a percentage basis than they would with, a massive page about entrepreneurship and finance. Also, they're very careful on who they work with. I wouldn't just work with anybody. So if I am partnering and working with somebody, my audience is gonna feel a lot more trust with me that I'm actually offering value to them through my offer. Additionally, this can take longer because the product would have to arrive to the influencer, they have to film the content, you'd have to stay on top of them this entire process to make sure that they're actually posting up the content and everything like that. And you likely need custom packaging and branding so they can do unboxing videos and all different styles of videos for you. Now, when it comes down to researching for these pages, the biggest question you wanna ask is, where does your camera battery died? It's literally getting dark now, but I'm out here putting in this work for you guys. So back to the affiliate marketing influencer strategy here. Basically what we got to do is reach out to influencers. So we type an initial short text, depends, and the more that we send, the better. But I usually look for influencers in the 10 to 100K range, as most of the time over 100K, they'll want some form of money up front. And below 10K usually isn't all that worth it unless the audience is hyper targeted, or of course you're using the content for UGC for ads or other purposes like that. Now, when it comes to sending them the products, you want to send them the products right away. They'll post it and generate sales for you both organically, and then you can repurpose that into ads as well. And if your product does take a while to get there, what I recommend doing is trying to find a similar one on Amazon Prime and just shipping it out to them that way, or maybe even upgrading and paying for DHL or FedEx or some kind of shipping like that from your supplier if they offer it, so that you can get the products expedited over to the influencers and get your content rolling at a faster rate. Now, setting them up with an affiliate system is even better. There's one called Ecom, so I'm not going to show you how to use it. It's one that I've used quite a lot in the past, so just type it out right here. Ecom, it's super simple. You download it on Shopify, set it up, and you could basically hook up your influencers with their own unique discount code for their followers, and it'll also track a small commission for them, whatever you want to set it up to be, so that you guaranteed lock in profits, and they'll be more incentivized to keep pumping it out to their audience as well. Now, what you can do here is you can offer them a little bit of money, or you can just send them the product completely free. And if they're in your niche, they might want to take your product and test it out, and they're more than willing to create a piece of content for it in exchange. Now, if they don't hit you back, you can also just figure out where their address is. Sometimes they have it on YouTube or other social media accounts, a PO box, something like that, and just ship it out and hope for the best. I've done that with about 100 different influencers at one point, and I think 5 to 10 of them actually went out and filmed a piece of content completely free for me, which had huge ROI. So that's also a way you could go about doing things. Now, I'll show you what to do when you're looking for influencers right now for this. If you go on Instagram and you type in, let's say, the keyword yoga, and you type in the keyword yoga, you're gonna see a couple big page influencers like this one right here that's literally called yoga. Then what you can do is you can scroll, you can check out their engagement, you can see if it's worth it to run a piece of content or a post with them. And this can be done the same way as you do for page influencers as well as individual influencers. But bear in mind, individual influencers are gonna have a lot more engagement for the amount of followers they have than page influencers. Then what you can do from here is you can hit this down arrow if you're on desktop. If you're on mobile, you might have to follow them first, but I wouldn't recommend going on mobile because you also can't see the likes and the comments and the engagements the same way you can on desktop. If you hit the down arrow, you're just gonna be greeted with tons of similar pages. And this is what I mean about infinite influencers in your space. There's just so many pages to message and work with that I guarantee you one of them will hit you back. And the same can be said about individual influencers for sure. So now when it comes to the actual promotional content and what you're running with them, typically you want a photo that fits in with the theme of their page, right? So if it's a meme page or if it's a page on quotes, you want to make a quote. If it's a yoga page, you want to make a lifestyle yoga image that stands out. That's key. Have it fit with the page, but also make it stand out. If we look at the page itself, we can see, a lot of these are formulated in a similar way. They all look very, very similar. So what can you do to set yourself apart? This one right here catches my eye right away. And it's just a really cool background and shot that you don't see, as a lot of the other ones are filmed in some type of studio. So that's something you can do. Here's another one that caught my eye right away because of the change of scenery. Figure out a way to make your post stand out on the page. Then of course, caption and call to action. So you can write something simple, literally one line, encouraging people to go over to your Instagram page and then visit your link in bio as well. You can also have them put the link in their bio. They might want to charge extra for this, so you're gonna have to negotiate with them for a while. And make sure your piece of content isn't spammy, it fits with their content, and it's still clear that it's an offer so people know to buy your product. Use the influencer once unless you have different products or unless you see insane results. But for the most part, use the influencer once unless they have a ton of followers and you want to make it a long-term partnership and they're going to be posting stories and all that stuff. But that's not what we're really talking about right now. Now, if we go back over here to this page, typically when we're looking for individual influencers, we want to look between 10K and 1 million. The audience quality has to be good. So again, engagement, real followers, engagement rate, we're looking for about 10% plus if it's individual. 1 to 5% is pretty good for a page like the yoga page we were just looking at. You want to look at their promotion frequency, okay? If there's someone who always spams up posts of products and different offerings, their audience might not have the same level of trust with them, or they might be sick and tired of buying products from them. So you want to find these relatively untapped influencers, and the same goes for pages as well. So stay away from meme pages as a whole. I mean, you can try them, typically they're the cheapest, but they're also extremely oversaturated and people are just sick of seeing all of their offerings and their products and things like that because they jump on every single opportunity to make a quick buck. And what happens there is their engagement rate falls to rock bottom as well. So typically you won't be reaching the audience that you think you are, and you might just be losing a lot of money. Now, let's say you want to figure out a decent price estimate for the promotion. You want to look at the following times the engagement rate times the CTR. So if I just do a quick calculation on my calculator right now, let's say the page that we're looking at has 10,000 followers, okay? So I'll do 10,000 and I'll multiply an engagement rate on average of 10%, so 0.10, and then a CTR just as a solid estimate for ads on Instagram like this, done in an influencer way. If it's an individual, I would recommend doing somewhere between 3 and 5. If it's a page itself, I'd recommend doing somewhere between 0.5 and 1.5. So for the sake of this, we're gonna imagine that we're working with a page such as the yoga page. So I'm gonna go ahead and multiply that by 0.05 to get 0.5%. And what we're gonna come out with is $50. So if there's a page that has 10,000 followers and they have an engagement rate of roughly 10%, and it's a page, so the CTR would be roughly around 0.5 to 1%. $50 is gonna be about the maximum that we'd wanna pay for this, just as an estimate. Of course, there's certain instances where you can go above if you're feeling, you got a gut feeling that's gonna work out well. But just as a solid estimate, $50 is pretty good for that post. So what you wanna do is you wanna save them all in a spreadsheet, including the cost for them or the estimated cost. Expect 1 out of every 5 to get back to you and 1 out of every 2 to actually follow through for both pages and influencers as well. So this way it kind of gives you a good idea of how many influencers you should be adding to your list to estimate how many promotions you're actually gonna run. Now, ideally, as you move forward with the strategy, you can hire a VA to do all of this work for you. It's gonna take so much time off of your hands, but in the beginning, when you go with your first couple promotions, I recommend doing this all yourself. It's gonna be a great learning experience as well. Now, another little sneaky tip you can do is when you reach out and you're actually DMing these influencers, you can leave a little comment on one of their recent feed posts saying, hey, at influencer, I shot you a DM or something like that. So they're more likely to see it inside of their notifications on Instagram, and then they might actually go to their DMs and seek out and find you. People do do that to me all the time on my Instagram, and I actually do go searching through my DMs to check when they do that. So it's a good trick that actually works. Now back over to the affiliate marketing influencer strategy, there's another take on this one that's really, really cool. And this is basically the same strategy, except you're offering people a 50% off discount code to buy whatever they want from your store. And in exchange, they must promote your product on their Instagram, and they can earn additional income for every sale they bring in. So a lot of the times this will work with micro influencers, so anyone less than 10,000 followers. It's good to shoot out as many of these as possible because it's just going to grow your reach and your potential audience. It's pretty much free to you, and you're guaranteed to lock in a profit, right? So if they're buying your product at 50% off, but you don't have to pay for ads or anything, as long as your gross profit margin is higher than 50%, then you're already locking in a profit on that sale alone, and then even more profit on every single person in their audience that they decide to sell their product to. So this is just literally the perfect strategy, in my opinion. I've used this a lot before. You'll find a lot of fashion pages doing this. Not only are you making sales and profits with every new affiliate you bring in, and you can even set it up so that they hire affiliates under them as well, and you can grow a massive affiliate program this way. And I recommend hiring someone to, take it to that next level, because it's going to be too much time on your hands to be focusing on that when you have a lot of other things in your business that you could be focusing on. So in a nutshell, refer back to this page if you need it. This affiliate marketing influencer strategy is pure gold, and I've used it time and time again. I just want to dive into a little bit about organic advertising, because this has been blowing up, especially on TikTok. TikTok, how to create killer creatives. Same thing we talked about in the ads portion. You want to make creatives that are native to the platform. And I mean, obviously as an organic post, it should be anyway, but you want to use trending hashtags, trending sounds, follow specific trends. There's always so many trends swirling around out there on TikTok, and really catch people in that first 3 to 5 seconds, that first scroll stop, or make sure it's a really unique and wow factor clip. Now the best part about this is you can go ahead and repost all of your TikToks onto Pinterest as idea pins. You can do the same thing on Instagram Reels. You can also create Instagram Reels on top of that, and then you can throw up stories to constantly engage all the people who are coming through your Reels and your other social media platforms and following you on Instagram. You can take this short form content and also post it on YouTube Shorts and Snapchat Spotlight. Snapchat Spotlight's not going to be as good as the other ones, but in the event where the video does go viral, if it's a really eye-catching, really wow factor video, Snapchat Spotlight pays out very, very well for its top performing creatives. So overall, short form content is king right now, just because of how many platforms you can reproduce it on, and the virality factor, especially on TikTok. You can have videos go to multi-millions of views, and this is an excellent way to make tons of money completely free. And the best part about this is you can look at all the organic posts you've made on your TikTok account for the brand. You can see the best performing ones and repurpose it on the TikTok Ads Manager, because chances are those ads will also do well in an ad, because they've already done well on organic and people really took to them organically. So they'll be a great money maker for you moving forward, and definitely something to think about when cycling in creatives. As you guys know, TikTok is a creative heavy platform, and you need to be constantly testing new creatives, even if your brand is successful and making you a lot of profit. I'm actually gonna be coming out with a YouTube video soon, breaking down exactly how I'm ordering products in and shooting the creatives myself in my own apartment. So stay tuned for that. And lastly, I just want to touch on other sales channels that I don't really use all that much. I do have Etsy bolded here though, because I use it quite a bit. And actually Google Ads in the past I've used quite a bit depending on the product. But Etsy is another great sellers platform. Now you have to be careful, because typically they only want handcrafted and handmade items. You can get away with some stuff, but others you can't. The best part about Etsy is they have ads that you only pay for once you make sales. So you guaranteed lock in a profit if the product is taking to the audience on there. If it's not, well, at least you can have your product listed on Etsy, and over time you can get some sales doing this. I had a hot product I was selling a couple months ago. It was actually a face mask that lit up and had a bunch of cool colors, and it went crazy on Etsy because it was a handmade product as well. Amazon, eBay, those are both great platforms as well. It's honestly a whole nother game, and too much to just simply cover in this one video right now. Like I won't even dive into it all that much. And same thing with Google Ads. You're gonna need a whole separate course on learning Google Ads itself, and it's super, super complex. So I recommend you just start with everything that's been outlined in this course thus far. I probably will make a Google Ads video at some point, because later on in your brand, it can become super, super valuable for especially shopping ads, which are those little windows at the top. So if I show you right now, just as a brief example, if I look up, what's a good product, swim shorts, you can see on the right hand side, or actually right here at the top, you're gonna see all these different shopping ads. And the great thing about these is that they give you an image, they give you a price, and they give you a title. So lots of people know right off the bat, like I can say, okay, you know, I want to buy these, and I'll click on it and I'll buy it just from seeing that. And you only pay Google based on the amount of clicks. It's called pay-per-click. So you can have a very, very high conversion rate this way because you're already giving so much information to the consumer, they're likely gonna buy it right when they click on it. And I've seen, you know, 10% plus conversion rates when running Google Ads shopping campaigns. So something to keep in mind as well, although I typically wouldn't start out right away with it, I would more incorporate it in over time into a brand. But there are tons of other creators out there who live by Google Ads, and that's the first thing they do before Facebook, TikTok, or anything else. So it's definitely something to keep in the back of your mind as you move forward with your dropshipping career. And with that, guys, I think I'm just gonna cut off the video quite abruptly here. I'm really tired. It's really late. I appreciate each and every one of you for taking the time to watch this video to support my channel. I'll have all the links to all the resources I talked about down below. Again, if you guys do wanna cut the learning curve and join my one-on-one mentorship where we go over everything in detail and more and give you access to so many resources, private networking groups, help, and absolutely everything you need. We'll also have a discovery call linked in down below. But thank you guys so much. Please leave a like button so this video can get out there, help impact more people, save them time and money from buying other courses and stuff like that swirling around out there. And get connected with me on Instagram. I'll have my Instagram down below. Really excited to hear from each and every one of you and how much this video has impacted you and helped you. Hopefully you guys can reach out when you get your first sale or your success stories. I love hearing those, even from people who have just watched my YouTube videos and then found a bunch of success. It makes me feel so great about what I'm doing. So thank you guys so much. Really appreciate all the support. Love you guys. We'll see you next week. Peace out.